Hey, welcome to episode 162 of the Collector's Quest podcast, Collector's Questions. The clever name that Johnny came up for our mailbag episodes now. It just sounds way more attractive than mailbag. So we're answering your questions. You guys sent them to us on social media. Apologies if we didn't get to your question. Honestly, usually we ask for these questions like 6 hours before we record the show. So we're talking about stuff like how our perspectives on video game collecting have changed over time. Why isn't Super Volleyball the stadium events of the Sega Genesis? What we don't like about retro gaming stores? What are the worst condition flaws? Just, like questions about video game stuff. So give us 5 stars in iTunes, tell your mom about the show, patreon.com/collectorsquest, and let's go. All right, we had a recording problem. I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, but my audio and Stefan's audio was fine. But I had to use this Skype backup audio for this call, or for this podcast. So sorry about the audio quality. It still should be pretty listenable. We'll do better next time. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Collector's Quest. I'm Tyler here with Johnny and Stefan. What's going on, guys?
We just had a rousing conversation on Discord with some patrons prior to this recording. That was something that I don't know. Did you guys didn't do that last week, right? This is the first time we've done that?
Sure did not.
First time we've done that.
Awesome. And well, I think we had a good old time.
Yep. And that's something that will kind of occur sporadically as we record episodes. We didn't, it was very informal. We didn't put out a notice. So if you are a Patreon and you're hearing this and you're like, I wasn't notified, it was an informal, impromptu go for it. So
yeah, I was legitimately just waiting for these guys to log on, and I was like, "Hey, I'm on camera. You can come hang out or not."
But the rest of the people, they don't want to hear about what our patrons did. If you didn't know, we've got a patron site that you can sign up, Collector's Quest, or www.patreon.com/Collector's Quest. You can join us, get on our Discord, find this stuff. But let's not talk about that anymore. Let's get into what we're really doing. Because I know when I'm not a patron of thing and I have to hear 30 minutes of that, I'm like, okay, I get it. You want me to pay you money.
I hate it. I hate this right now. Guys, this is a mailbag episode. Have we said that yet?
No, it's Collector's Questions.
It's
Collector's Questions.
This is Collector's Questions, everybody.
That's pretty good.
I have a good story about this.
Okay,
and by good story, I mean, I put out these Instagram stories asking for questions, and when we get on the show, it's always like, haha, no one likes Tyler. Tyler never gets any questions. So Ada, I go downstairs, and Ada's like, did you see the response to your Instagram story? And I'm like, no, I didn't get it. I only got like one response. You have to go to the stories to look at the responses, to look at what you get. You don't just get private messages. So I've only ever answered a question from you if you sent me a private message. I've never looked at any of the other things.
This whole time, people have been sending you questions, and you're just like, nah, you guy.
I am so sorry. These guys know that I do not know how to use Instagram.
This was after Ada, Johnny. This was after Ada had to help him figure out how to put the story in the beginning.
This was like a year and a half ago.
She didn't tell me how to look at the responses. Because I would get people who sent me messages via just private message, and I'd be like, all right, I got 3 questions from people.
I can't breathe.
Those people are the people who don't know how to use Instagram along with me.
Yeah, but I want everyone to know the life I live of Tyler always going okay, boomer to me. And I'm not a boomer. I'm a Gen Xer. And then listen to this old He has no idea what's going on. You still got a flip phone.
I just feel terrible because I know reaching out to someone and them just completely ghosting you sucks. So if I have done that with one of your questions in the past, I sincerely apologize.
Bless you, Tyler. You were so Tyler.
Now I understand why you wanted our natural reactions. During the pre-show, Tyler's like, I have this thing to tell you guys, but I can't tell you now because I need your natural reactions. Oh my God.
Okay. All right, let's focus, recenter, take a breath. Good. We're good. Okay. This episode is about collector's questions. We've reached out to you guys and we're going to answer as many as we can. Okay. That's it.
It's a Stefan episode.
Yes, this is Stefan's episode. These are his most favorite. Tell him why you like these, Stefan. Go ahead.
I am just very, very passionate, and I love spending time with our community and reaching out to our community, and any back and forth that we can have. I'm very much into. So anytime that we get to interface with you guys directly, then I love that, and that's like why I've been trying to like be in just engaging with you guys more and more and more. So yeah, I love these kinds of episodes.
Yeah, I enjoy them as well. Tyler hates them because he's cold and weird. But I
forgot if I hate them.
And hates his grandpa.
Okay.
I don't know if you do. I think they're fine. Before we get into the show proper, we've done kind of our digression already, which is always the beginning of the show. But do you have anything you further wish to digress into before we get to answering the questions?
No.
Tyler?
I think we're good.
Okay. The only one thing I will shout out is, I got two. So video game, what is it? Video game collecting podcast on YouTube. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
What?
Can we have a conversation? Guys, there's like the video game collecting podcast, and then there's video game collectors podcast now. And they both started around the same time. Can we stop it? Stop it.
Well, listen to the one with Josh Byerly and Matt Rose.
The other guy.
Right about now. Once this airs, right about now, as Josh Byerly is listening to the podcast, I will get PM'd with him telling me that Tyler is mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, Josh, what happened? I had to wait like a year for episode 3 of that podcast, and then they put out like 7 episodes in a week.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Look,
the
they're
new
committing to their audience, Tyler.
Yeah.
It's great.
Look, let's not shun it. Like that's who cares?
It's great.
Like,
I love it.
I'm like, what are we going to talk about timetables to people? Sometimes we got 2, sometimes we got 4, sometimes we got 1. Like we're not people to talk about schedules, but they had Acid Jaguar from the NA days on. Also, he is _ Acid Jaguar. There are 2 Acid Jaguars on Instagram. If you don't follow his account, go ahead and check it out. But make sure you put the _ one, or you will get a very different Acid Jaguar. Just saying. But he did a like a Nintendo Paper episode, Stefan. You should check that one out. I wanted to tell you about it because he talked about Nintendo Power a lot and hint books, and you guys know how I love a hint book. And he went into all that stuff, and that was cool. I listened to all theirs because I like video game content when it's easy, meaning like I can put it on in the background while I'm like chasing my son around or something. While he screams at the dog, and it's nice that one's easy. It's on YouTube, but you don't need to see their faces. But this one, Stefan, you're gonna want to watch because Acid Jaguar is showing many goods. So that was cool.
He has an incredible paper collection, and coming from me, that's a pretty strong statement. And he's the one that I go to when his name's Andrew. And when I'm not sure whether or not I've seen something or want more information, like he's the one that I go to. So yeah, anytime he is sharing his collection and wealth of knowledge, you should listen if you are interested in things of historical value.
Yeah, and that's they bring on guests, and that's one of the things that is interesting. They had Robin on the other day too, so. They have people there before we got him. They're like, Robin's finally someone put me on a podcast. But sorry, Robin, blame Tyler. But they're going to be connected to people who have been collecting for a long time. Deep knowledge stuff. So definitely check them out. They bring on guests a lot, and we don't. So what are we going to complain about?
We don't.
Anyways, I thought that was cool. And then also, if you remember. From a long time ago, like I think a year and a half now, we did a special episode, a collector's edition, which I meant to do more of and still haven't got around to it yet, with Carly of All the Pretty Books on Instagram. She's the Harry Potter collector. They started their own podcast, her and a guy named Nocturne Eric. His name is obviously Eric. And the podcast is called Dialogue Alley, and they talk about Harry Potter translations. So if you liked hearing about it from back in that episode, go check them out. Dialogue Alley. You can find them wherever podcasts are.
Also, can we just take a moment to appreciate how excellent a name Dialogue Alley is for a Harry Potter podcast?
It's really good.
It's really good. Good job.
I will tell you when I was talking to them about their names and they had like a couple of good options, and that was the second best option. There was a better name that I can't remember, but was already taken.
I refute that. I refute that there's a better option.
Look, they were both really good. That one, that was one slightly better. Anyways, I think that's all the digression I have. Unless you guys got anything, let's move into it and start answering these questions because we have a truckload.
Let's do it.
Okay, gentlemen, I'll go ahead and go first. This question comes from Peaceful Games. What's something, region, system, other category that he didn't think of that you'd like to collect for, but you don't because it's too hard or expensive or whatever your reason is? So what's something that you don't collect, but you wish you were? Go ahead.
What? No, I have to think of an answer to this because I collect so much.
Okay, I already know my answer. So
okay, maybe like arcade games because I don't have room for them. All right, fine, whatever. Stefan, go.
Whoa! You said you needed to think. Wow, right. And then you were like, "I got my answer."
Nope.
For me, it's definitely always going to be, as far as like it being too hard or expensive, the Neo Geo AES. Like, and not that I guess this is back when I was collecting sets and stuff, but like every time I thought about,
back
how cool
when I was collecting sets.
That's right.
Games.
Back when I was collecting retail garbage. Every time I looked at the AES, it was like, well, that'd be like really cool. I'd love I love how big they are and chunky and substantial. And like when you pay, you're paying like $1,000 plus for every game. But like when you do, like that purchase feels so substantial because it's like such a, the shock cases are amazing and just everything about the construction of Neo Geo AES games are amazing. But they're so goddamn expensive, and like it is one of those systems where it's sort of similar to 2600, where like that top 1% is so incredibly scarce that like I don't know, maybe like one or two people on the planet have a full AES set. I'm making that up. I'm assuming.
Is it the AES or the MVS?
The MVS is the arcade. The AES is the home console. But even if you were to do MVS, it's still really, really challenging. And just like slightly less expensive. It used to be a lot less expensive. It's just a little less expensive.
Tyler, what about you?
Well, it's not Neo Geo. I feel like Neo Geo is probably like a very popular answer for this just because it is so expensive. But I don't like fighting games. I don't like beat 'em ups, and that's like a third of the Neo Geo library. Yeah, I've got like an MVS motherboard and a few MVS carts. Just I used to have arcade cabinets. Now I have just a super gun. And I'd never played the Neo Geo. For me, it would be 100% space stuff. I would collect 80s arcade games or more computers. Like, I don't even have an Apple II. That's like the biggest thing I don't have. But of the computers that I like to collect for, I know if I bought an Apple II, I would not have it set up. So I've got a Myst computer, which it's basically Mister. It's an FPGA that emulates everything. And it's so much easier to just have that instead of if you have 10 computers set up, like you're a computer guy, you'll know if you're that guy. Like you would have already been that guy if you were going to be that guy. And I am not that guy who has 10 different computers set up. I've got my Mister, I've got a couple Windows machines, and I've got a Commodore 64 set up. And that is like already kind of overwhelming for one desk for me. So definitely computer hardware. And arcade games, I love arcade games. For the space an arcade game takes up, like pinball machine wins every single time. So
that's what I was going to say, Tyler. If you wanted to be a computer guy, you could just be less of a pinball guy, and you could be a computer guy.
If I had a room full of computers, that would take up room of like 5 pinball machines. Like, there's no way I'm giving up 5 pinball machines.
What about that really, really wide one? You just get rid of that one, and that's like what, 2 or 3.
What really? No, so those wide ones are. Oh, stop it, Stefan. Don't. They are very wide.
Stop antagonizing. He's trolling you. Just Tyler, you always fall for it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and answer now. For me, video game wise, there isn't really anything. So I wish I had more toys, which is weird because toys are such a pain in the ass. If I had all the space in the world, like I would love a complete Masters of the Universe set and a complete Kenner set of Star Wars figures in box and like have a cool display for that. Like that's very nostalgic for me, both of those toy lines. So that's like what I would like to see. I do have a bunch of Star Wars stuff now anyways, so it's not that much of a stretch, but Like I would have all the vehicles and the playsets. If you've seen any of the Masters of the Universe playsets, they are huge. But the Castle Grayskull box looks so awesome, and the Eternia one, ugh, so good. But they are so big. It's so dumb. Anyways, that's it. Like video game wise, like I wish I had a couple more pinball machines. You know, I wish I had one MAME cabinet because I don't care to have 400 arcade machines. I just like one nice one. That would be fine with me.
You could find space for a MAME cabinet. I
don't want to find space because that means I would have to remove something that's already here. Like people are like, oh yeah, like let's see your room, and I'm like, there's like my whole house is a room. You know, because my wife and I both collect stuff, so you know it looks like adults live here, kinda. We'll talk about that more later. All right, I have nothing further to add to that. Let's go to Retro GE02. He asks. This question means more to me than it should. Is a taco a sandwich? Because I think we all can agree hot dogs are. Look, we can talk about truth in objects. You could be Aristotle. You could be Socrates in whichever way you want to look at these things. I will tell you, like, man, there's a current show that references the ship of Theseus, and if you know about that, you can talk about what that means. Is a thing, and if you do all this stuff to it. I don't care about all that. I'm going to come at this from comms. A thing is only a thing unless we all agree on it. So I don't care if a taco is a sandwich. I don't care if a hot dog is a hot dog. None of that matters. If you guys all agree it is. I'm not going to get into the debate, like is a hamburger a sandwich. There's this, if you look at food and you go down this litany, and I did torment my friends with a giant list of this not too long ago. Like because like Chicago style pizza, it is considered a pizza. But if you take a taco, right? If you take a taco, you like a tortilla and you put some cheese on it first, or you put like, we'll say the meat and then the cheese on it, and you don't fold it, it's a tostada, right? It's no longer a taco.
Sure.
So, but a pizza, you can change the order of the ingredients. It's still a pizza. But a tostada, if you do it, it becomes a taco. Burrito, I've had burritos without rice and beans and like just meat and a sauce and stuff. They're still considered a burrito, but basically that's just a rolled up taco. It's just, we could get into this whole thing. The world is crazy. So I'll leave you with this because I'm not going to answer this question properly. If I took a tortilla, put on some salsa, and then put on some cheese, is that a pizza? It's a bread, it's a tomato, it's a cheese. Is that a pizza if I bake it?
Yep. Have you seen pizza in other countries? Just like the world of pizza?
Yes.
Like there's so much messed up stuff that's called pizza.
Yeah.
Look, all I'm saying is that I miss Mexican pizzas from Taco Bell, and they are bastards for removing them from the menu.
Okay, I agree. Anyways, this is like such a troll question. I appreciate it, but and there's more coming. Unfortunately, like I've taken a few too many philosophy and communications classes, so like it's like, oh, an innocuous question, and my brain's like, well, if we look at this, these philosophers, if we look at Aristotle and Socrates, and we talk about object truth and what is true and what is real. My brain starts to spin, and I'm just like, nah, this isn't a good question for me. I rabbit hole too hard on it.
I just need like a stop the assembly line button. You know, like when you're starting to go down this road where I can just go, burn, Johnny, stop.
Yeah, Johnny, don't come back. Yeah, my wife wishes that button existed too. All right. Now we get from Red the Game Shark to follow up to this.
What an oddly similar question.
Yeah. If peanut butter wasn't called peanut butter, what would it be called? It doesn't matter. It would still be the thing it is, because objects are only objects because we have a shared experience around them and call them whatever they're called. If aliens came down and saw a chair, like imagine the Earth becomes a wasteland, right? But all the chairs survive, and aliens, and they're like cephalopods or something, right? They don't have legs they're just like, or tentacle monsters or whatever. They come down and they see this thing, a chair, and they can perceive no reason for this thing to exist. They're going to call it whatever they want, and they're going to divine whatever its use is. And they're going to be probably wrong initially, and maybe after years and years of research, they'll get it right, or maybe they'll have records. Who knows? Doesn't matter. A chair is a chair because we agree it's a chair. Peanut butter is peanut butter because we agree it is. If it's not, you could be called anything else. As long as we all agreed, that's what it would be, because that's how communication works. And objects actually have no truth. They just exist. The name is a moniker placed upon the object. The object exists outside of the name. And once we go away and our knowledge of that moniker goes, then it is no longer the thing, and its uses will be changed and aligned to whoever finds it next.
I'm really glad there's only 2 of these.
Yeah.
I'll give a real answer. It would probably be called peanut jam, because butter is like an actual term for how you've mashed your thing into like a creamy paste, like preserves and
I was gonna say paste
and stuff. That's all like an actual thing. So we would just, if butter didn't exist, we would just call it one of the other things, and then all the butters would be mixed in with all the jams. Right?
That's some weak-ass commoner answers.
God
right
damn it. I'm just... Shut up with your philosophy degree, Johnny.
Peanut butter jam. Peanut butter jam.
A thing is only a thing if we can all agree it's a thing.
Peanut cream.
Let's call it peanut butter paste, because that would be maybe peanut butter sauce. I don't know.
Peanut paste is definitely not as appetizing.
These are not types of fruit preserves, though, Johnny.
I don't care.
I don't want an actual diatribe over this.
I don't understand. Are we talking about video games?
No, not yet. Richard Head is bringing us back, though, with this question. Should I post my Howard the Duck Commodore 64 game on Instagram?
No. Next question.
Yes, absolutely. This is an easy one. But also, he says, what other Commodore 64 games should I keep an eye out for that have cool box art? He says he does not and never will own a Commodore 64. He just likes the way the boxes and the games look on the shelf, which is something Stefan can appreciate.
I sure can. What's up to my 3DO collectors?
I think the most correct person to answer this question, though, is Tyler.
No. What?
Yeah, Tyler, tell us about Commodore 64 games that he should keep an eye out for.
All right, Stefan, do you want me to steal your answer, or do you want to go ahead and say your answer first?
No, go ahead, because I don't know that I would know what a Commodore 64 game looks like on a shelf.
Okay, so Stefan's answer would have been the SSI Gold Box games and the SSI Silver Box games. Like, honestly, probably like the most iconic Commodore 64 set of games. I don't know the difference in prices between them.
Because like they're also on PC.
Yeah,
like
they're on everything.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
those are sexy boxes.
When I think of a set of games from the 80s, like I think of someone having 20 of those lined up because they look great on a shelf. I could not tell you the difference between any of them. They all run on like the same engine, I'm pretty sure. The other serious answer would be Epix games. Epix published things like Winter Games and there's so much. Someone wrote Impossible Mission.
But Tyler, is this answer based on box art? Because that's what he's asking.
So
about.
like, look at Epic's box art for Commodore 64 games. They're all in like this neon laser, almost abstract thing. Like they all look like they're long exposures of neon signs. I don't know how to describe it. They look awesome. They all have a black background. So just get all the Epix games. Howard the Duck, I'm going to guess, has a really dumbass box art. So on that end of the spectrum, I'm going to say Gianna Sisters, which looks like a third grader drew it. So there are my answers for this.
Okay, I have an answer. If you want to keep it in the world of like Nintendo or recognizable properties, I really like the Street Fighter art. It's so weird in 80s. So if you look at the Capcom art for the cassette version of Street Fighter on the Commodore, it is ridiculous. I don't know what is happening there. Like, it's definitely, there's like a brawl. It's like high noon or something. Like kids are meeting at the flagpole. I don't know what this art is, but it's the most 80s thing you could see. So I picked that one. And then also Attack of the Mutant Camel, because
going back to Howard the Duck, by the way, I just looked up that box art and it actually is pretty cool. I think it's actually probably the poster art for the movie, but that's kind of neat.
Howard the Duck. Ooh. If you want to see a terrible movie, yeah.
I stuck it in our Facebook chat if you'd like to see it.
Nice. Yeah, I very much want Howard the Duck now that I know it exists. Actually, the Commodore 64 has like a lot of wild games. I'm just like, this is amazing that this is a game.
And it's an Activision game. That surprises me for some reason. I learned something today about Howard the Duck.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Did you learn how weird and inappropriate it is that there's like this cross-species sex scene that's gonna like almost happening? It's real weird.
I mean, as a Ninja Turtles fan, that's something that I'm kind of used to, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Wait, what's going on in Ninja Turtles?
Well,
April O'Neil.
April O'Neil is so in the younger version of the show, she is way too old to be hanging out with those kids. And there's just like some implied grossness, and then like in the newer shows, like the CG show, Donatello is actively like in canon in love with her.
Hey,
although she is aged down a little bit.
The best Ninja Turtle.
But yeah, people having mutant animals having sex with people in that universe is not terribly uncommon.
Yeah, it's very weird. All right,
fine. It's fine. It's fine.
All right, we got an answer there. So, Tyler, you want to read us off our next question?
From Hardstyle Toaster, given the state of the hobby, what's a new collector's best method of obtaining information for their collecting goals, be it a complete set, finding variants, or whatever else? I know Video Game Sage exists, but it seems like there's more tribal knowledge that isn't documented anywhere.
Listening to us.
No, not for... I would listen to us for entertainment. I wouldn't be like writing down notes while listening to collectors. Like maybe like, I heard of something cool. Let me go check that out.
I don't know. Our So You Want to Collect episodes should be listened to, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying Collector's Quest is a bad source of information, but if I'm like making lists...
please don't denigrate our show to the listeners, Tyler.
God. Jesus.
I'm getting so much from you guys. I'm going to go leave and start my own podcast.
It would be nice.
That's a question later.
Yeah. I'm just saying it would be nice if you liked the podcast you were on. I mean, if you don't, Tyler, I mean, you can go. You actually can't go because I need you to edit the show. Sorry.
So what I normally do, I mean, what I've done in the past, because now I'm like, I have such a base of stuff to start off of that what I do now is different. But when I started out basically like making lists and looking for variants, I would obviously go deep into Google, but I would look for the best list as a starting point. And then the first thing I would do is get a picture and verify that everything on that list actually exists. And it could be eBay or whatever, because a lot of these lists are just horrible to start out with. It would be rare to say that there is a game that is missing from a list that someone hasn't discussed in a forum. So I'm looking for forum threads on all these, like Racket Boy, all these like video game collecting forums, like the Xbox collectors thread. And I will go through like hopefully there's like many pages of that. And I will go through every post and look for every game that everyone has ever mentioned in that thread, look at all their pictures and add it to my list. And then a lot of my research I just literally do on eBay. I set up save searches for stuff I'm looking for variants for. I think everyone does that. But eBay is the best source of information for video games, bar none. Because there is no centralized source of video games, because there is no catalog that everyone looks to, eBay and social media, and write down and save pictures of everything you see. And if you haven't been doing that, just start right now writing down all the variants and taking pictures of everything you see, because you're not going to be able to pull up that Facebook post again. You're not going to remember you saw that eBay thing. Just keep lists of everything you see. I honestly don't think that there's tribal knowledge. I don't think that there's this Illuminati that knows everything. I think there are lots of individual experts, and there's lots of people who like start discussing things, and it seems like, there's this group of people who knows everything, but it's one person probably threw something out there, and like the other person in the world who can like connect with that one weird original Xbox thing linked up with them. But it's a lot of people doing their own research to just look like they're in a hive mind, I think.
Well, and there's also...
Says the video game Illuminati member himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Take everything that Tyler says with a grain of salt there. He wants to throw you off the trail.
And there are certainly people who do research and then hoard that information as well.
Absolutely.
So a good thing to do would be find the people hoarding information who are hopefully willing to talk to you and ask them questions on social media. Like I talked to Dan Gomez, Super Nintendo. I ask him Xbox stuff, not all the time, but if I have an Xbox question, I would go to him. if I needed, like, I don't have a PS3 list. I have like zero interest in PS3. If I needed a PS3 list, I would not probably start with one on the internet. I would know there is someone out there collecting PS3 who has an up-to-date list, and I would go find that person and ask if they would give me their list, and I would start from their list, not, Moby Games or whatever the hell I would find for a PS3 collecting list.
Yeah, and there is a PS3 guy. What's his name? Is it Figski Games? Oh man, Figski Games. I think he's got a complete PS3 set, but I think he's coming out of Europe. But I think he does multi-territory. So that's just a thing to know, right? So what I'm telling you there is just to reiterate what Tyler said. There are experts out there because a lot of the systems and a lot of this knowledge is so big that not one person is going to have all of it. So creating a network of people that if you can get in with them, or like at least if they are open to being, having questions thrown at them, finding out who those people are and then asking around. So
I used to think like variants, like there were just these super smart people who were just like, oh man, these guys know all the variants. This is crazy. Like pick your favorite game and look at 500 eBay listings of that game. You'll find a variant and no one will ever have talked about it. There's just, it's mass-produced garbage, and there's a lot of factories, and there's a lot of changes that happen over time.
Man, it's like one of those things I always tell people, and people resist me all the time on that one. I don't know why.
What? Who would resist you on that? What are you talking about?
It's your resting bitch face.
People resist that idea when I'm like, no, this is exactly what complete is. I'm like, no, there's multiple factories, so this could in fact be. No, this is the only. No, there's a variant. No, this is the only. Like, no. How would you know? I'm like, well, I'm a maniac, and I might spend 5 hours on eBay staring at games, when I'm researching, and then do that like a couple times a week, and then, write down my findings, and then go back and say, I might be that guy. Just saying.
Like,
people fight.
I'm in the Xbox group, and I know there are guys who literally, they just have a search for like the word Xbox, or maybe like Xbox minus 360 minus one, and they just look at everything Xbox that comes up on eBay, and they're looking for something new. And like with NES and like Game Boy, there's tons of people who are just looking at everything, looking for that weird 5-screw, that weird thing to come up.
Yep. And that's you said that. That's what you do. That's what I do. I have a F ton of save searches for stuff I want to see, and I just like troll through those until I feel like I know enough about it and buy one and then let it go.
Let it go. Sorry.
All right. So
I have a small daughter. I'm sorry.
Also, try to get Johnny to write a video game catalog. Someone needs to write a video game catalog. I don't know. Josh Byerly, he knows a lot about video games.
We do need a good source. Braveheart, but we need to get you need to get all those people in a room together and make them all share everything, and then decide where they're experts, and then have all that.
Yeah, I'll take one catalog per console. That'll be fine. Per region, even. I'll buy different. I'll buy an NES catalog. I'll buy a PAL NES catalog. Just.
The problem with that stuff is, like you're saying, it's so mass produced. Once you write it, you're wrong, because someone will find something new.
Update the catalog. I want whoever writes the catalog has to be on top of everyone saying everything in social media, and so whenever something comes up, they have to know about it and put out a new edition. Because like stamp catalogs aren't static; they update with new information all the time.
Okay.
So,
all right. We answered enough this, Stefan. You got anything you want to throw at this?
Nope. I'm good.
All right.
I'm actually really interested in the next question, so I think
then
I'll
do it.
Clearvis says, I hope I pronounced that right. Clearvis? It's got to be Clearvis. If you had started limited run games, what would you be doing differently? I know you've all talked about various things you dislike, but I'm curious to know what an ideal version of limited run games and similar companies look like to you guys.
Man, people hate when we rail on this. So be gentle.
So
be gentle, good sir.
For me, it's difficult to what the thing that I dislike most about them now, the biggest change that I dislike most about them now, it's difficult for me because also being in the game industry, I understand why they've expanded, so I'm not necessarily mad about them. But if you're asking about what my ideal version is, which wouldn't necessarily be the version of them that makes the most money or is the most lucrative for them, would be how they have strayed so far from their original mission, right?
Yes.
Where it really was,
Preach.
it was making sure that digital only games were preserved in a physical format for perpetuity's sake, right? So that we can enjoy
Amazing
them forever
Penguin.
and ever on, man, right? But they've strayed so far now where it's just that they will put out releases for anything, essentially. Anyone who approaches them can get a release through limited run, regardless of what the actual content is. Now, again, from a business perspective, I understand why they continue to find new things to do, new things to grow, new ways to grow their business. But the company that I was a fan of, and the reasons that I was a fan of them, doesn't really exist anymore. And that's 100% to do with, again, as much as I understand it from a business perspective, it has 100% to do with how far they have strayed from their actual mission.
I agree. Tower, do you have anything you want to throw out that? I have some things.
I just think that I don't know. They're not a limited run game publisher. They're just a game publisher. It's like I'm not interested in any individual game publisher that would publish just like random games, and they're essentially just a game publisher publishing random games. And I don't even know like how much of this stuff is even limited anymore. Like literally everything is a pre-order, right? So they're just a game publisher that does pre-orders.
Usually they have like a SKU, like they'll have a limited collector SKU.
I mean, I can't say I'd be doing stuff differently because they've got to be making a load more money just being a pre-order based game publisher than printing 2,000 copies of some Vita game. But I mean, so from a business standpoint, there's nothing I could do to change it. From my personal standpoint, I would only be publishing like bona fide classic games. Like when they got like Golf Story, I was like, holy f***, they got like the most popular Switch indie game right now. That is awesome. And then like, you look at all the Switch games they put out, 200 Switch games that I have no interest in. And it's not just me personally. I mean, I know someone's interested in all this stuff, but to make it a more cohesive set, it would be better to, I always say, be the Criterion Collection of video games. And even on like their older stuff, they clearly just got the Natsume license for all their old IP to republish that. And they're putting out like Amazing Penguin. And it's like, you don't have to put it out just because you have the license for it. You can stick to the most popular Natsume games, whatever they are. Shadow of the Ninja. I don't know what the most popular Game Boy Natsume games are. I don't know. It's just
it's Pocky and Rocky is the most popular.
Sure.
Right?
I would just say stop diluting your shit. They have a monthly t-shirt now. I'm on their website right now. Like they're putting out a different t-shirt every month. Like just stop diluting your shit. If I ran limited run games, there would be one video. You go to the website, there is one video game for sale. There isn't all this fucking garbage. Make something seem important.
Yeah. So one, I mean, I agree with what they said. And again, mind you, we're answering in what we would like as an ideal. And that's not right. Yeah. The ideal is not like, if your ideal is to make the most money, I don't think they're going wrong. And I don't blame them. Look, I don't fault people for trying to make their money. I do find a lot of that shit annoying. I don't need your cards. I don't need your stickers. Stop wasting money on that or acting like that's perceived value. It's not. Like, I hate making collectors collect other little things. That's not why I'm here. I'm not here for your trading cards. I'm here for your games. Like Tyler said, please stop diluting. But here's, like, as Stefan said, my number one gripe is that they've kind of strayed for that. I don't care about Amazing Penguin. I don't know why Amazing Penguin is coming out. I don't know why that, like, they re-released a Game Boy cartridge for Star Wars. Like, what is you can go buy that cartridge for like $5. Why are we packaging it like this? I don't get that. As far as the dilution there, it's weird. I don't like, just keep the cool games like Scott Pilgrim. I'm genuinely excited for that. The Konami collection, which wasn't going to get a physical release, I get excited for that thing because those are games that I would love to put in my collection that I couldn't before. The other ones, they exist. And I guess you can say, well, they're very expensive, but are people clamoring for games like Amazing Penguin? I don't get it. I don't understand. A lot of these games they put out are like, if you could just get the cart, it's not unreasonable just to get the cart for these things. And the other thing I dislike They take too much credit for what they do. Okay. I dislike the fact that they put limited run on the box gigantic or like 17 times. I know what company you are. I don't need a sticker from you that says your name, gigantic. I don't need it on the box 5 times. Like they removed the Game Boy Color thing and put their name like they did something. You didn't do anything. You just burned some new ROMs and put it in the shell. Like you didn't stop taking credit for it all over the place. Like this is the thing. Like, but that's their branding, right? That's annoying for me. So I wouldn't do that because as a collector, I don't want to see that. Like if I'm after the game, I'm not after the company. I also, don't get into Nintendo fanboyism over Sony. Like I'm not a fan of companies. I am a fan of games. So I just want to buy cool games, games I'm nostalgic for. Yes, that is mostly Nintendo because that's what I had. But at the same time, I'm not like, oh yeah, man, Sega of America was a shit company. They were, but Nintendo is the best. No, because they were a bunch of assholes and like really did some scummy things too. I don't want to be a fan of a company. I'm a fan of games. That's my rant over about limited run games. It's just, they're going to make stuff that I buy and they're going to make a bunch of stuff I roll my eyes about and probably whine and complain a little bit too much on this podcast about.
No, I do want to stay on this question a little bit. Okay.
Because the Collector's Quest podcast talking too much about limited run games? No way, Stefan.
No. But I because I think I can kind of form a little bit more of an intelligent answer and point at a few things in particular if we're talking about a different limited run company, limited game creation company. Because I'd like to talk a little bit about I Am 8-Bit because that they are like when I'm thinking about limited, quote unquote, limited run games, not the specific company, but the culture, companies that do like specific scummy things that I can point out and say I would not do that. Typically, I Am 8-Bit has been more of a violator of those things. I would not separate the game from the like chase objects or the extra collectible objects like I Am 8-Bit has done in the past, where they are shipping you the game before the product. That's not something that I'm into. I would not put chase carts in my already limited set in a way that is I am unable to look at and see if I have the chase cart without actually opening it. That is the worst thing, especially when you are pitching to a demographic that is typically going to keep your thing sealed unless you give them a specific reason to open it. And so, when you're giving them a Street Fighter cartridge that has a windowed, like has a flap, it could have easily been a windowed box, but instead you have to open the thing to find out if you have a glow-in-the-dark Blanca cartridge. That's a dick move.
Nope. I like that. Good. That's good. Make people open their games.
Terrible.
Nope. Dick
Shrink
move.
Wrap is or just don't seal the game, but still.
And like as far as business perspective, doing things like selling out all of your dead stock to a big box retailer and then claiming on your website that you have sold out of that game, that's straight up scumbag. Like,
well, look, we can't excuse limited run games because they produce games that then also go to Best Buy as well. So it's like that. If you're limited, why am I seeing it at Best Buy? Like, I would like that practice to stop. Also, as far as we're talking about tchotchkes and stuff for limited run games specifically, I'm not offended by special editions. I'm offended by a special edition of every game. Not every game deserves a special edition. Make the truly cool stuff like Scott Pilgrim. Like, make a collector's edition of that. Put some cool stuff in that. Like, don't just do the same like 3 basic bitch things that you can put in a game and call it a special edition and then move on. I don't like, that's not cool. No one wants that. Like,
you're not getting the Terminator Resistance Enhanced Collector's Edition for PS5.
No, it's so weird that's kind of like now they're producing PS5. They're just a publisher. And like, we can go on, but we should move on. Stefan, I know you got a few more words you want to get out, so get them out. Let's move past this.
No, I really just wanted to say, just because it seemed like I had a better answer if we weren't talking about limited run, but still talking about the companies like that.
And I will say that it's not like I've said it there is some things I did like. I didn't like that like narrow. I still don't like on all the games where there was that really narrow pre-order window and there's only like 2,000 and not everyone's gonna get it. Like that was like weird. I do prefer the pre-order.
They didn't have like the web infrastructure to support that kind of business model.
Right. So like when they went to the pre-order model, like if you only give it a day for people to pre-order, like I'm fine with that. But you give people enough time if they're busy or doing something that they can get in. There's always going to be that window of people who didn't or came after who are going to want it to make it collectible. You know, I like that they changed their model on a lot of stuff, especially when they got to Switch, because that was going to be a nightmare. So, you know, it's not like everything they do I hate. You know, like I still have given them more money than I wish because they will put out some cool games. And I do like to own physical games. What am I going to do? All right. Next question. Daddy Mulk says, Stadium Events gets a lot of attention from collectors / discussion as to whether or not it should count as part of the full NES set. Why do you think no one ever talks about Super Volleyball for the Genesis the same way? Circumstances are nearly identical. After all, Super Volleyball was published first by a third party and then purchased and redistributed as Sega as Super Volleyball. Tyler, what do you think?
So just to be clear, I guess the distinction here is that Super Volleyball, the original release, is volley and ball, 2 words, and then Super Volleyball is 1 word. And the reason it doesn't count is because no one is consistent on anything and everything's a nightmare.
Also money, right? Money.
Yeah, how expensive is the release?
There's so much that people don't... So one I brought up on Instagram was Real Monsters. So Viacom Real Monsters on Sega Genesis has 3 exclamation points after and then Majesco republished the game and it has 2 exclamation points after So it's a publisher variant and it's a title variant. No one has it twice on their Sega Genesis set list. It's not, none of it's collectively interesting. Whereas Stadium Events is collectively interesting. So people are like, of course that counts. Because there's no rules. It's just like what I feel like should count. Publisher variants don't count. Title change variants don't count. Code change variants don't count. But sometimes when you put some of them together, or if one of them in particular is really interesting, then people will count it. It's inconsistent and frustrating. That's why I'm saying take one of these lists from online and decide what you think matters, what you think actually counts.
So correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm looking at something completely different, but I'm looking at eBay here, and it seems like both of those variants are $10. Is that correct? Yep.
Okay. I actually think Super Volleyball, the Sega one, is actually more common and more expensive, I think. Like, both of them you could easily get, but...
Yeah, so I mean, there's my answer. It's going to come down to money, right? The reason why people draw the big distinction with Stadium Events and what is it, World Class Track Meet, is value, right? They make that distinction because they don't want to have to pay $17,000 for a cartridge. It has nothing to do with whether or not they genuinely think it's a variant or not, or has very little to do with that. Because if they were both $10, they would just buy them both, and they wouldn't have the argument.
Yes, if they were both $10, you'd probably buy them both, but you still might not care. Like, I still don't care. You know how I am. Who cares? Stadium Events is like one of the most boring things ever. I know some people find it interesting. Like, if it was a $10 situation, yeah, I would have bought it just because I'm a collector. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I'll just put it on my shelf. But when you force people to like really make a decision, so your brain then has to cross this divide. You're like, this thing is stupid. I don't really care. And then you're like, well, and then it's $17,000 to like check this box, and Athletic World is just sitting there, and it's the same stupid. I'm not doing this. No, because that divide of money isn't insignificant, right? It's enough money to make you stop and question. Like, if I buy both Super Volleyballs, what do I miss out on a sandwich? Who cares? I could probably miss a few more sandwiches, right? That's,
you should buy some more Super Volleyballs, Johnny.
Yeah. Should I? Probably. That's my new diet program. Every time I'm hungry, I'm buying Super Volleyball. One day I'll corner the market.
You're going to be like CWR2 with just like stacks
no, God,
Super Volleyball.
Yeah. But like, $17,000 or $5,000. And when I was being offered at like $3,000, especially at that point in my life, I was like, okay, well, that's really making me make a life decision because I'm not a rich guy like that. You're forcing me to make a hard decision. And what is more important to me? If I had been like thinking about it as an investor, I would have been like, well, I should definitely be spending this $3,000 because in 2020 this is going to make me a lot of money. But that's not, 2005, Johnny, wasn't about that. I just wanted to buy like Zelda and Final Fantasy because I love those games. And stadium events, who gives a shit? What is that game? I'm not playing a power pad game. That's the dumbest shit ever.
Sure. So I think it's that there's certainly people who don't care, but the people who do generally care because it's expensive.
Yeah. I mean, and that is a draw, right? Like, oh, this is like a thing. Granted, I think it's a lot harder to find a stadium event than the variants of Super Volleyball as well, right? So there is some rarity factor
pages
into
and pages
that,
of it on eBay.
right? So, there's that too. It's stadium events is a weird case, but as Tyler was saying, people make up a lot of weird rules that are inconsistent across platforms and certain games. And some of it has to do with the narrative behind it, right? If people have built up a lore about it, then that's part of it. No one built up a lore about Super Volleyball. That does not mean Super Volleyball is by any means a worse or less interesting game than stadium events, because really I can't think of a less interesting game than stadium events. So like Super Volleyball might
Johnny, you would love to be in the super high-end game market, because if you look at prices from 2019 to 2020, look at like I'm going to give you a specific thing. I'm like, look at the November signature auction on Heritage Auctions, but you'll see like Chrono Trigger $50,000, Super Mario World $50,000, Super Mario Brothers $300,000, and then you'll see like Cheetah Men 2 $6,000. What did it sell for a year ago? $6,000. Like all like the bullshit games, they're like, oh, they're just rare. This isn't Final Fantasy. I don't like it. That's how like everyone in the investing world
because all those people are basically starting at square one. As collectors,
they weren't here.
These are the interesting games,
right?
Yeah. I mean, and this has to do like stadium events. Is we talk about the fetishization of the seal and the number. I mean, but that's what collectors did. The fetish of rarity. And rather than thinking about whether a game was cool or actually mattered, we're like, "What? It's so rare!" And we got these big weird collector boners, and like, it's the rarest thing. I gotta get that in my life. We did the same thing. Not to the scores of money that sealed games have, but
they just figured it's better to have a rare thing, a conditionally rare thing, than whatever the other kind of rare thing is. Like, wouldn't you rather have the 1 of 10 of the 9.6 Super Mario Brothers with the shrink wrap than a stadium events card? Who cares?
Well, because no one's going to know. When they talk to their friends about it, they're going to be like, I've never heard of a stadium events. And they're like, oh, but I do know Mario. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. Daddy Milks, I'm going to give you your real answer, which is no one gives a about Sega. It's not Nintendo.
Yeah, there it is.
No one's thinking about their Sega list. People's Sega lists are messed up, like combining licensed and unlicensed games. Just they are all over.
They're coming in
true.
with the truth bombs.
I made distinctions in my list. So, all right. Clarvis has another one. All right. Would you rather have a bunch of loose carts or a few crazy expensive CIB and save up the money for other CIBs later, or as many CIBs as possible of price, just not loose carts? Stefan.
Yeah, this will be kind of interesting because I
know your answer's changed.
Yeah. I mean, I started as a loose cart collector, and to me it was about. I wasn't all wrapped up in the monetary value. I'm still not really wrapped up in the monetary value, and it was about what my childhood looked like. And to me, my childhood did not look like a bunch of CIB games on a shelf. I was the kid that had a bunch of gray squares in a literal pile in the middle of my room. So that's kind of what I gravitated towards, and that's what I loved. And honestly, like, at the end of the day, now that I've recently sold a huge swath of my retail collection, if people haven't heard, I sold like 5,000 games in the last couple of weeks. The stuff that I have kept is card only Super Nintendo. The stuff that I love, the stuff that really draws me from a personal nostalgic level. So yeah, I'm a loose cart guy, and honestly, like I would but it comes down to like CIB just not being that interesting to me from a nostalgic standpoint, and I would rather use the money that I'm saving on those boxes and manuals to put towards something that I find genuinely interesting.
All right, now Tyler, give us a good answer.
A good answer. It is hard for me to say that I don't care more about having a load of loose cartridges. Or actually, the question is really expensive loose cartridges. I mean, if we're talking specifically about expensive games, like good games, like again going back, not stadium events, like I don't know what's expensive. Is Final Fantasy 3 expensive? Something like that.
Kinda.
Like a few hundred. Chrono Trigger is expensive. It's like a $500 game now. When I'm buying the good stuff like that for my collection, that is when the condition matters most to me. You know, if I'm buying like a filler, like Prehistoric Man or something, like I want like a good cart, but if it's really hard to find, like I'll settle if I really have to. But for the best stuff, I'm definitely going to get, you know, the of your choices, a few expensive CIB and then save up for other CIB games later. It's harder to answer this now because I have a load of cartridges. I have having a lot of games is something that is and was really important to me. And now that I already have a lot of games over the past few years, I have shifted more into buying more complete games because it's kind of like I already have everything I care about. Now I'm going to go for individual pieces that I want, individual games in the nicest conditions. So that's my answer, I guess.
Okay, bad answer too. I'll answer the actual question.
Oh, okay.
Would I rather have a bunch of expensive loose cartridges or a few crazy expensive CIBs? I'd rather have a few expensive, crazy expensive CIBs. One, because that would really force me to focus on the things I want, and you know, in the end, that's going to serve you better. Loose cartridges don't sell as well. If you look at the trend in value over time, it's not as good. And for me, you know, I like complete and box things. And I think, you know, having a nice version of that is going to serve you better than just a cart later. I would, plus, you know, if I was going back and collecting now, like starting over, like having 20 cool, like nice, beautiful games, like my favorite games, so much easier to deal with than, you know, this truckload of games I have sitting in my office. It's just a mountain of games. I'm going to move one day, and it just sounds like the worst. So
you can move them all over to Stefan's house. He has
a lot of room. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just like if something happened to, like if your financial situation isn't as good, it's a lot easier to move 5 expensive good games than 40 expensive loose carts, right? Like that equal the same value. So that's my answer.
Also, go ask Red the Game Shark. First mention on the show, I basically sent him a list of like the 10 most expensive games on my want list. I'm just like, Red, these are my priorities. They're like $1,000. Let's go find them.
Since we've said his name, we got to do the ad. Be sure to buy all of your import games for cheap at Cheap Cheap Games. That's right. Contact Red the Game Shark on eBay or on Instagram or the Discord, and you can get cheap import games. That's right. Cheap import games.
All right. Let's move on. I'm going to read one.
Do it.
From Zeno with an X. What kind of things would you like to see retro game stores improve on to make for a better collecting/shopping experience? What are your pet peeves with retro video game stores? Okay, I have a question before you go. Zeno with an X as opposed to? I don't know. Any other way you with a Z? Yeah, you can say Z. Okay. All right. Yeah. I just wanted to know what the alternatives in your brain were if there, because you made a delineation. All right. You want to answer it too? Yeah. I mean, I'm a big relationships guy. So like anytime I get a vibe that like they don't give a about you or your time, or like there's a store by us, Johnny, that it's always historically been very, 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 very difficult to just even flag someone down to have them pay attention to you. Why? Whatever do you mean? Though that environment has never been my favorite. You know, people who, you know, like I also want to, you know, I want the whole experience when I go into a game store. Like I want to go in and feel like I'm talking to someone who knows about what we're talking about, but like also cares to talk to me, right? And I understand that like they're also running a business, and if there's like a line out the door, I'm not going to be like, hey, let's talk about Earthbound for half an hour. But like I do want to be in an environment where I feel like this is more like I'm building more of a relationship than just the transaction. So any time that I feel like my needs are not being met in that fashion, that really, really bothers me. Yeah, I think that's my big thing.
All right, Tyler.
What do you got?
One of the closest video game stores to me is Lost Ark Video Games. I guess I'm throwing them under the bus. I don't mean to throw them under the bus, but they're like a huge fucking store in North Carolina. Half the games they have, like everything good, is in a glass case, and the glass case is on the other end of where the cashiers are. So you have to wait. It's a busy store. It's like a really big store. It's got an arcade attached to it. You have to wait for them to finish up their conversations, flag someone down, have them open up the case, and then we'll go over to a game, and it will be like, oh, it doesn't have the manual, or it doesn't have the cardboard insert, or something. And it's like, well, and then I have to do that for every game I'm interested in, or I have to make a list of games and then like have them go through each game. And like, I'm me, so when I'm going to a game store, like I don't have a game store really close by. My closest game stores are like an hour and a half to 2.5 hours away. So I'm going to a game store to Johnny. I'm going to a game store. I'm walking out of there with 250 games. So, like, these guys, like, they're used to, like, someone being like, oh, let me look at that Super Mario Brothers. And I'm like, okay, here's my list of 75 games in the glass case, and I want to know how complete they are and what condition they are, because all I can see is the spine. I can't stand glass cases. Like, put your good stuff in a glass case, but if it's away from, like, the sales counter, or it's like Sega Genesis games, like, dude, I'm not stealing Subterranea. I just want to know if it has the manual. I am way more likely to buy games if I can touch them, and I don't have to talk to people. I hate talking to people. Wow. And then my other pet peeve is just if your stock sucks. That's kind of an obvious thing, but like I would rather walk into a game store and see Panzer Dragoon Saga there for $2,000 and know like, well, at least that's there if I'm ever that desperate for some reason. I walk into so many game stores and they have nothing, like not even like Grand Theft Auto games for $5 that people would want. It's just like 100% junk. Nothing for collectors, nothing for players. I don't know how they're in business.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on the glass case. The store Stefan is talking about, that's like one of their big things is like the glass cases. Like you're put cases between you and the games. So like if you're trying to look at PS1 games, what a chore. I wear glasses already. This is not, I don't want to be 10 feet away from the PS1 games trying to read spines. It isn't great. And also, like, I understand if you need someone there because the games are expensive to like look with me, but like, let me put my hands on the game. I'm trying to, especially if I'm trying to decide if I'm spending like a couple $100 on a game, like I want to touch it. So I'll be a little bit more into this. One, I wish games, all of them have like box protectors on them. And the contents like were written, like I wish there was just a sticker on that box protector that said like what the price is. What the price is. I understand that that's hard because prices change. So maybe not that, but at least they have like can get you the price quickly. That's always really annoying when you have to like search for the price. I don't want you to look at eBay right in front of me on your phone. Okay, just like have a better system to get your prices. Like maybe like do a dump or something in the morning and then have it available. Also, like tell me the contents. I want to just like pick it up, and if I see it has no manual in it, then I'm not like touching or fiddling with the game at all or bending a box to try and get into it. Like I already know I don't want this, so I'm just going to put it back. You know, it's just little things like that. I'll go into online though, because I haven't really been able to walk into a game store in a while. Online stores, just like, please take a picture of the stupid game. Stop with the stock images. That is my biggest pet peeve. Stock images. Stop, or no image. Stop. Put an image of the game in and tell me what the F is in it. If it doesn't have a manual, I want to know. Like, just, Trading Games does a great job with this. They just like open up their game, take a picture of it, and they're like, this is the thing we're selling. And I know like if it's got the map, the manual, if it's got an insert, everything that's in it. I like that a lot, but not everyone does that.
Yeah, I'll speak to Amazon too specifically because that's kind of a challenging market because it's like one image that represents like all of the stock for that product. So if you are going to sell your shit on Amazon, especially when it's like used product and collectible product, talk about it. like that you get plenty of description to type out the condition, what this thing looks like, etc., etc. Like, you know, if you're going to charge, especially since it's like, oh, you can mark, oh yeah, it's in collectible condition. Well, what the does that mean? That's so subjective. Like, if you're going to say like, oh, this is in collectible condition, I expect you to tell me why you believe that. So but that's specifically for Amazon, because their storefront is really shitty.
You can,
Stefan.
Is it?
Yeah, you can.
Just no one does. I don't think people on Amazon are selling to collectors. They're probably doing 99.9% of their business with like people buying DVDs or something. We're not their market.
They think they're not our market, but like the video games, like I know lots of collectors go there like and buy from Amazon, but Amazon it's just not a great system.
Like if you're a gambler, like there are like people who list stuff, they're like, I guess I should sell it on Amazon, and you'll find like weirdly underpriced stuff, but you can't see a picture of it.
I gamble a lot.
Oh, okay. I hate returns and I hate losing.
And Amazon returns are so easy right now. It's just like you don't even have to like pack the box back up. You're just like throw it back in the box and tape it, and like you don't have to mess around with the label. UPS will stick it on for you. It's great.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's
move
on.
New things about Amazon today.
Yeah. Gideon, or sorry, it's not Gideon. Gildan? I'm not sure.
Glidden?
Yeah. I don't know. I was always reading it as Gideon, but my brain was just deciphering the letters I wanted to see.
Yeah.
Getting the totally wrong. Sorry, man. We've had a couple good chats too. So, what Japanese proxy buying service do you like best and why, Tyler? Or do you care which one you use?
I have only used one. I use DJapan because, well, DJapan has been on Reddit before, and they post like little charts like our fees are so much lower, and I really have no idea. It's like other sites are like Buy and Zen Market, and some of them charge like $3 a game, or like a game, $3 per item that you buy that they have to deal with. DJapan charges nothing. I'm trying to think of how this works. Like they charge nothing, and then they'll charge you a shipping rate, and it'll be like $1 per game to combine all your games into one box, and then another $10 for padded packaging. But like saying that out loud, like I'm trying to figure out if I'm remembering something incorrectly. But no, it's like, how could you possibly receive a package, have a warehouse, store that package for me for free for 30 days? I am paying $1 for you to open that package and pack it up with all my other packages. And it's not all my packages. Like I could choose which ones I want to pack up. Like you have to like go off like a little manifest. They weigh it. They send me like 3 shipping options. I pick one. So there's another like someone stops, process switches, and then comes back to it later after I pick my shipping. Like the price is so cheap for the service they provide. It has to be some kind of like drug operation or money laundering scheme. This is every proxy service, by the way. They say that they make money off like some kind of tax something or like combining shipping discount.
But it's really black tar
Like maybe
heroin.
they charge us the full rate for shipping, but they're getting like an amazing rate on shipping because they're shipping so many packages. I don't know how it works, but proxy services are so cheap and someone needs to look into them.
No, they don't.
Because there is so much cocaine.
Stop. We need those.
I don't care. Someone
those
should
shit.
get the service that I use regularly and need desperately shut down.
Yeah, stop that, Tyler.
I will say, DJapan, they do like an okay job packaging games. If you're like buying boxed games and like you don't want to risk one that doesn't arrive in like mint shape, probably DJapan, not for you. They don't do a bad job packaging, but it's just like, I ship around 20 games at a time, and if I were personally shipping that to another collector, I would not ship the way DJapan ships. Again, I'm paying them $10 to combine and package my things, so it's not... I'm not paying them to do an amazing collector job.
I actually have something to say about proxy services. Just kind of a heads up for it's probably more than one, but in this case it was buy.jp, the buy with 2 E's at the end. But Kelsey Lewin was saying the other day that she was like bidding on a holy grail of hers, and that the proxy service that she was using just stopped her from being able to bid more. and that's why she lost. And so I just pinged her to see like what that was about, so that because since we were talking about it, and she had said it was because she I guess she didn't get like her account verified beforehand. So just if you're going to use a proxy service, I would recommend just making sure that there isn't something like that in place before you decide you want to spend thousands and thousands on something, because they may just be like, nope, and like stop you from continuing to bid. So
the same thing happened to me with DJapan. It wasn't that they stopped me, but like I signed up for the website and immediately I'm bidding on like hundreds of dollars of games. And like I wasn't gonna win them all. I just like what I do is I like throwing out a billion like really good snipes, and if I win like 10% of them, it's like awesome.
What's gonna happen that day that you win all your snipes and you're like, oh now I owe $50,000?
There are nights I go to sleep and I'm like, whoa, I am if I win all these auctions, but it hasn't happened yet. One day I'm gonna wake up and it's gonna be like, why have I won $5,000 of auctions? But they'll all have been great prices. The problem is I'm not gonna be selling any of it, so I will be. But yeah, anyway, they verified something. I don't remember what they verified with me. But yeah, they did the same thing. I've also used Forward to Me. But I have not received my package from them yet.
Do they do Japanese stuff though? I thought that's mainly European.
They do have a Japanese thing. I haven't used that yet.
I haven't used
because
Japanese one yet.
With Forward to Me, you basically just get an address and they're like, "Oh, ship stuff here, and we'll ship it out to you." And like using Japanese sites, like using Yahoo Auctions actually on Yahoo Auctions is probably a hard thing to do. So that is not something I would do. Whereas all the other proxy services, they just have like a nice English interface that you can use them with. But Forward to Me, they're shipping me like 100 cassettes right now in like their little fragile plastic cases. I am fascinated to see how that will go. I spent like $100 shipping to them, or $100 shipping my package. No, more than that. It was £100, probably like $130. Every time I ship something from Japan, I'm like, damn, I can't believe it was that cheap. This is great. I'm good to go. And my one package from the UK, I'm like, God damn it. I don't even know if I'm saving money going through this service.
You are, because like...
I know.
Yeah.
I have a lot of one-off cassettes and stuff. But like a couple of them were like lots of 20 to 30. Anyway, no one cares about my cassettes.
Yeah, I use Tyler for all of my Japanese stuff. He's a great
Red the
forwarder.
Game Shark.
Yeah, and Red. That's what I was going to say. I use Tyler and Red when I need the stuff. I don't mess around with that, but for European stuff, I use Forward to Me. I don't have anything meaningful to add, so that's it for me. All right. We got one last question here on the Patreon side. Then we got our Instagram questions. So let's go with Peaceful's question. As far as unfixable condition flaws, which do you find most offensive? Punctures, Stefan, moisture damage, sans mold, sans mold. I want you to hear that part. Tears, sun fading, crushing. I'll go ahead. I didn't talk much last time. For me, it's crushing. I don't like any of these things, right? If a tear is like all these are pretty bad. But crushing is the thing that most often happens to my own packages because someone will ship it in a bubble mailer. I guess crushing though is like probably the most easily fixed of all of these, besides from the moisture damage and the sun fading. So like if I'm rating it, like personally, I hate seeing something crushed, but you can press things and kind of get some of that back. Moisture damage is like, there's just nothing to do. And sun fading, there's nothing to do. Tears, you can even kind of glue down or like try to make look nice. But
glue down? That took me a second to process, Johnny. Glue down?
Yeah. There's ways like you fix torn art and stuff. Like, I'm not saying I do. I'm just saying it can be done. Like if you have a tear in a box, there are methods in which people reconstitute boxes back together and fix damage and stuff. Like you could do it. And I know people who can repair boxes that have like a tear in them. If it doesn't like rip the art completely off and it's like missing, they can get it to look mostly normal.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on the crushing too. Some unless it's like really egregious, you can also like press them out. And a lot of times you can press that out. But yeah, you'd never. I mean, you'd still always know that it was pressed, but it would still. I mean, it would at least look a little better. I think for me, the one that bothers me the most is sun fading, only because it can be so insidious sometimes. if it's just like a little bit sun faded, or if you're not really intimately familiar with the colors on a box, for instance, it can look okay, and then until you put it next to one that's not sun faded, and you're like, right. So that's
gotcha.
That's why I don't like fading, only because it's like I've been had by it several times, right? And an otherwise great game can be insidiously damaged by sun fading, and you won't even realize it until you look at one that's not.
Yeah, I agree. Tyler, what about you? How do you feel about this?
I'm the same way on sun fading. Like, if it's 5% sun faded and I can tell like that game is worth nothing to me, I have to immediately replace it, because I line all my games up on a shelf.
It's the worst.
And like you look at a shelf and you're like, that one's sun faded. That red should be way deeper. You could point out
like
right
my
away.
Castlevania Bloodlines, Johnny.
Sure. No,
sorry.
Like, I have tons of games that have crushing damage or tears or something. Like, I try not to, have like the worst games ever, but that's going to happen to cardboard boxes, and sun fading is just the worst. And then moisture damage, I don't deal with any of that. Like, not just because of mold, just like if you have a manual and it was moisture damage, like there's absolutely no way I'm buying your thing.
It was just nothing you can do with it.
It just looks horrible. It feels horrible. It is the grossest.
Yeah, that like it becomes like weirdly crispy. Do not want.
Yeah, it's the worst. Like, you could probably can you like resubmerge it and then press it and then fix it if you I don't know, Johnny. I have no interest.
Yeah. All right. So those were the Patreon questions. Let's get to your guys' individual list. So Stefan and Tyler reached out to Instagram and to fish for some more questions. Let's see how many of these we can plow through. Tyler, you've got yours up first. Let's go.
If we had to give each other a white elephant gift that we know that the other person would hate from our collection, what would you give each other? By Connor Strange.
This is a fun question.
Johnny, you start.
Can I go because I have a good answer?
Yeah, you can go.
Great.
Okay. This is specifically for Johnny, but I have... I'm sorry, I can't even get through this without laughing. But I would really, really love to give you the I Am 8-Bit Mega Man X. Because I know how much you hate that game.
Yeah.
Oh,
man,
God.
I wouldn't be able to get rid of it either.
I know.
You'd see it. Oh man, that's almost worth a $50 joke. Too bad that game's $100 like garbage.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's a good one. All right. Tyler, have you thought of an answer, or do you have an answer for what you'd give Tyler?
Probably my Comet pinball machine. Like if I had,
that's a good one. Comet
because
sucks.
I know, like I would never give it to him because I love that game. It's like a childhood nostalgic thing. That's why I have it taking up space. But like I know space is such a premium for him, and like just to make him have to like, what am I gonna give up for this game that I hate? That would be pretty solid. That would be a pretty solid white elephant gift. I also think it's funny that I'm contemplating a pinball machine as a white elephant gift.
Yes, it's very specific and tailored to me. Ada had a friend or a family friend or something. She showed me a picture of a comet, and she was like asking me like, can we fix this? What's this worth? And I'm like, oh, that's a comet. That sucks. Just tell him that. Those are the only things I want him to know came from me.
I love that machine.
So I have a pile of, extra crap stuff laying around. I would definitely send Johnny all of my loose Genesis games. That would be excellent.
I was going to send you loose Genesis games.
Stefan, you're easy because I could just send you something that was sold in a store and it would be like, what am I going to do with this? So what's a really big thing that was sold in a store?
Oh, I don't know, like a...
Oh.
Do you still have your Steel Battalion, Stefan?
Yeah, because I haven't sold the Xbox set yet. By the way, if anyone wants to buy an Xbox set, hit me up.
I've got something, and it fits in your collection. I have one of these cubic cardboard displays. It's like 2 by 2 by 2 feet. It's for Super Paper Mario. You can have that.
I would hate that. No, I would hate that. Yeah, no. Yeah, anything like any displays newer than Super Nintendo Genesis. Like anything newer than 16-bit.
Okay, can we talk about this, Stefan? There are people out here, and they're like going to GameStop and getting like 3DS displays and like Switch displays and some. It's just
they're so big, and like most of them are incomplete. Like they're just like spending the rest of their lives trying to find the like kiosk version of a Wii controller. It's just like, dude.
And it's like the HD remake of the actual game. It's like, oh man, you're spending like hundreds of dollars for this display for a remake. Just like go get some good vintage stuff. That's how I feel. Like I feel like the vintage stuff is expensive, but it's not like so expensive where you should be spending hundreds of dollars on some GameStop Switch stuff.
But that's it's the same trickle down economy that like the graded games have, right? Like where it's just like, oh well, I can't have a sticker sealed, first print Super Mario whatever for a gajillion dollars, so I'm gonna buy what is kind of in that same niche, but like I want to play with the big kids too, right? So I think it's you find a lot of these collectors who are, instead of trying to buy a $4,000 to $8,000 fiber optic sign, they're buying something that's affordable to them and filling their house with all this modern display stuff, which is fine.
I'm so sad. We definitely have like a hardcore modern display collector listening, and I'll personally apologize to you because you should collect what you love. I'm just saying, totally. I do not love that GameStop stuff. Maybe I'm just biased because when I walk into GameStop, I feel so cold now because I'm like not interested in things.
If you're buying it because you love it, great, awesome. I'm right there with you. If you're buying it because you can't buy the stuff that you love, then just save up for the stuff that you love. IMO.
All right,
Johnny.
So Tyler, I have one for you.
Excellent.
So it would be a collection of things. It would be a random box, and it would be filled with like a couple of PS3 games that don't have their manuals inside there, a smattering of loose discs from PS2 and Wii specifically. It would be a couple of Wii games in white cases, but with no art insert, but the manuals in there. And then it would be like Super Nintendo and Atari games without labels.
Why do you... This sounds like an actual box you have, and you just read off like this garbage you're keeping for some reason.
We hear like
I'm just thinking could be like, and then I would also make sure there's at least 3 loose Pico games in there.
Perfect.
Because I would want you to
a spindle of PS2 games.
Yeah, I just want there to be like things you could never do anything with, and that don't fit anywhere together. I would just want it to be completely incongruous, just like.
Things that you would absolutely have to trade away if you wanted to get rid of them, and
the point is,
no one's going to want them.
Well, Tyler never gets rid of anything, so he would just be stuck with the shitty box forever, and I would fill it. It would be heavy. That's what I'm saying. He would lug this thing around till he dies, until I have to go to Ada and help her figure out what to do with it, and then I could be like, "This one goes in the garbage." But Tyler can do that. So, for Stefan. Stefan's hard because he doesn't really have anything. You know what I would buy you, Stefan? I would ship you very poorly a bunch of neon signs you would be interested in, and just despite
the fact that you live 8 miles away.
Yes,
ship them to because make sure they break.
One, I would want you to know that they were coming via shipment and have you feel that dread as they come to you, and then watch you open them and look at all the glass shards.
Somehow you would find a bubble mailer that would fit a neon sign, and you just shove it in there.
Yes, that's pretty much what I would do. That would be my white elephant gifts to you.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah,
it's good.
Okay. All right, Tyler, what's your next one?
Quill Sucks asks, I believe tongue-in-cheekly, which NES homebrew is the best investment in 2021, and which is your favorite? My favorite NES homebrew is Battle Kid 2. It is like so head and shoulders above everything else, and it's hard as fuck.
2021?
2021. I played 2 homebrew games this year, maybe. I don't know. Did Project Blue come out?
It's not Chumley's Adventure or Quest for
dude. Chumley's Adventure is
sucks.
It is not a game for NES players. I will say that it's a game you can beat in about 10 minutes, and it's a kung fu.
They made
Kung Fu. Are you being nice because they sent it to you for free?
No, I'm not being nice to Chum-Li. I'm being nice to the guy who made it. I gave a very fair review on YouTube. It's a thing. It's not a great thing. Project Blue? Did Project Blue come out this year? It might have shipped this year. Project Blue is awesome because it's very much like Battle Kid. It's a hardcore platformer that you will beat your face against for many times over and over as you die. And then, what's the best homebrew investment? I will give actual specific advice here. What's that horror game we were just talking about in the Discord chat?
Deedus or whatever.
See, you don't even know. What is it?
It's got a weird name. It's like Deadous.
Dedius, I think. So Dedius, this is a Game Boy game. I'm being a little facetious, but it looks really high quality. And it's a horror game. It's not on NES, it's on Game Boy. I'm going to try to get one when they print it again. They've gone through 2 prints already. But man, I should probably get that. Someone on Discord convinced me to get it.
Also, you should definitely buy Sheep It Up.
It's I don't care about that kind of stuff.
I love Sheep.
No, Sheep It Up is made by your friend. Buy Sheep It Up, right?
Yeah. Plus, it's a great game.
All right. Stefan, we have no input on the rest of this, so let's move on to Tyler's next question.
Anything you guys like to see in small collections or from new collectors? Oh, wait. Did I skip one?
Well, I'm
not even in the right section. Tyler, will you ever create your own podcast out of Collector's Quest podcast? I made a joke about this a long time ago, and it's been too long for people to probably remember the joke.
Tyler did have a podcast that he started right after he got this gig.
Wow.
Wait, what?
That's messed
up.
You
did. You had with your buddy on...
the RTT podcast. You can go look that up. It's for a thread on Game TZ. I'm not even on Game TZ anymore. It's horrible. Probably horrible. I haven't listened to it, but it's not good. I also had Video Game Morse Code. That was probably 13 years ago or so. That one went for like a dozen episodes. That was the TotalGamerZone.com podcast. Also horrible. And then I did the Game TZ podcast. I don't know, 5 episodes, 10 episodes. That was another, 15 years ago thing. All these are really bad, and I was like a teenager in some of them. And thank God you probably can't find them on the internet anymore.
I'll just answer this now because I was also asked this by the same person. So I don't have any desire to start my own podcast. In fact, one of the driving forces behind me joining this podcast originally was so that I didn't have to start my own podcast. But I do frequently, and I am happy to guest on other people's podcasts. I do, the whole onus behind the art collecting thing is to share. And so I just feel like the more I can put myself out there in any type of medium, is just another vector for me to continue to share my passion for Nintendo Power Art. So I do regularly and will continue to regularly guest on other people's podcasts to talk about that. But I have no desire to start my own.
Okay. I woke up to how could I have time for another podcast? I woke up today. I edited the last show. Put it through all the processing things. Like I have to be at my computer so I'm ready when it's done in like a half hour. I post the show, then I'm listening to the after show because I don't edit that, but I just got to make sure like we didn't say anything like, like personal weird information that can't be in there.
Here's
that's like another hour. Like I'm not working on the podcast, but I have to be there interacting with the podcast in some way. And then I'm interacting on like Discord with people. And now I'm going to be recording with you guys for another 4 hours. And if this wasn't a mailbag episode, which, by the way, I also had to solicit questions and update the document, it's, 10 minutes of stuff, but it's still work. If this wasn't a mailbag, it would be more work doing research. I basically spent my whole day on Collector's Quest. Like one half of my weekend is Collector's Quest. How could I have time for another podcast?
And this is by design, because like I said, Tyler tried to like side gig me right when he got this. So, I'm just making sure this is locked down. You know what I'm saying? I got a
launching pad for the Retro Gem. What's my name, Johnny? Oh my God.
Retro Gem Miner?
Retro Gem. It's getting late. Are Johnny and Stefan going to move in with each other? I'm sorry, Johnny, are you going to start another podcast?
No.
Okay.
This is all consuming as it is.
All right. I'm skipping the next question because it's stupid. How has your game collecting philosophy changed over the years? By Side Scroller. Stefan. Has it changed at all? I don't think Stefan's been pretty consistent.
Completely.
So John.
Yeah, no.
We kind of answered this a lot.
Sure. But just briefly, if this is the first time anyone's hearing about my collecting philosophies, I started out as a kind of a retail collector doing sets. But that
garbage man.
that's also at a time when my wife at the time was going through a stage 4 cancer diagnosis. So it was a lot of me just trying to distract myself, and so the sets were there for me at a time that I needed them to be there for me, and they did their job. They did distract me significantly, but over time, I started to love kind of the hunt more than the product, and so I kept looking for harder and harder and harder and harder things to hunt for, and wound up kind of basically only collecting things of great historical value to the industry and like one of one like paintings, and specifically for Nintendo Power Magazine now I'm very focused on that. So going from being as Johnny just eloquently put it, a garbage man who just buys whatever, I'm incredibly focused on very, very quote unquote high end items now. So
well, like I'll put it like this: I call you a garbage man, but the other thing is you were still kind of panning out exactly what your interests were, and you're curious and you're interested in a lot of things. When it came to games, there's a lot of options. So you're just like, oh, this is kind of neat. I like this. Oh yeah, that's kind of neat too. So you were just picking up stuff. You were doing that, and that's a trap that a lot of game collectors get into, because if you like games, there is a lot of neat stuff out there, or just like, oh, like this is the history. Like, oh, these LCDs, like they came from this time when this was like the handheld of the day before the Game Boy even. So like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like there's just a lot of rabbit holes you can fall down. That's why we talk about focusing and like really setting some goals, because you can be overwhelmed. And if you just, you're just buying everything you found out at Goodwill, it gets crazy. And like, you were going through some stuff, so I forgive you. But yeah, you bought just a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of it was very neat though, just like wasn't a focused goal.
That's true.
All right. I don't want people to think I'm just panning you.
No.
All right, Tyler, you changed a bit. You kind of described it already. So what else happened?
I would say the main thing is that in the olden days, rarity was the only focus, like 100%. And I'm not saying like all I went after was rare stuff. I meant the only thing I valued was rarity. So I was collecting sets. The only thing interesting in that set was what is uncommon and then what is at the top. So, NES, my R7s, because we used to call everything by a rarity rating back in the day. The R7s were like the good stuff, and then your R8s and 9s, which would be probably just stadium events, would be like an R9 or an R10. Like, I thought you were the coolest person ever if you had that, or if you had Myriad 6-in-1, or if you had Cheetah 2. And then, so two things happened. So, like, everything changed in the past 4 years. So I started completing a lot of sets, and I wasn't about to start completing more. Like, I wasn't going to complete like cardboard complete box sets just because prices are too high now. And then, Wada craziness happened, and there was a lot more interest in people going after early print runs, calling them historic. And I got FOMO, not for the stuff they were going after, but I was like, I don't own like my favorite games of all time, like period. Like my third favorite game, my favorite computer game of all time is Doom. It's like, I've been collecting for like over 10 years. I am buying like Platinum Hits Xbox variants. What the is going on? I don't own Doom. Like, what am I doing? Like, go look at my Instagram, 2018 versus 2019. 2018, I am posting like the dumbest shit. And like 2019, I'm posting like that 3D dinosaur, whatever thing that I posted. That's like one of the first games I've ever played. And it's really hard to find, and I've never thought to buy it. I've just been like, wow, that's cool. It's like one of the first games I ever played. So I've obviously, I've went from only valuing rarity to valuing the things I like and historical things. Obviously, I'm going after a lot more older and historical stuff lately. Kind of disagreeing with what the market is calling historical, but thank God, honestly. It's more fun that way because I can afford things.
Nice. I don't know. I think I've been kind of locked in to what I'm doing for a long time now, so it hasn't changed too much. As you mentioned, like the WADA stuff happened, so I did kind of have to shift for like, okay, like just revealing the revelation of just information that came out of that. Like, oh, I guess I don't have some of these first prints. Oh, some of these are wrong. That kind of shifted because I just wanted to make sure a few of my favorites were right. But I still love going after dumbass variants. Like, that's where my heart is. Like I'm probably not going to complete too many more sets. I say that, like, I'm not going to say none because there's a few that are in the works that I'll probably finish eventually, but no, I'm not changing too much. If anything, I've slowed down a little bit. I can still see more of an end game in sight, and not that I'll stop collecting, but the focus will be on, like, I'm just going to buy every game that reminds me of Halloween, and that's what I'll be doing, and it won't matter what system it's for, and then there'll just be a big wall of weird Halloween stuff that I have. That's probably
Johnny, can you
it.
imagine buying like a game a week? There are people out there who buy like a game a week or like a game a month, and they're happy. How do we become them?
Oh, wait, hold on. A game a month?
Like a game a month. Like these
Just
guys, they'll save up their money. They'll go to the store and be like, "Oh, look, the Super Mario World Bowser's Fury is out. I'm gonna buy that, and I'm going to enjoy that game for a whole month, and it's going to be fun."
Yeah, there's people who play it.
Oh my god!
And then sometimes when they're done playing it, like you can't play every game for a whole month. They'll put it on the shelf. It'll take something else off their shelf that they already have, and then they'll play that again.
You know, that's a little bit funny, but also I'm most likely to pull something that I've already played off the shelf and play.
You're talking to like, I do nothing on NES. I just like play Ninja Gaiden. I play. I can't even come up with another example. Like my other example would be Ninja Gaiden 3.
I've played Star Fox like once a week for 10 minutes for the last
oh my god,
forever.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Now my collecting hasn't changed too much. So, I mean, I did the whole nostalgia thing when I first started, but that was so long ago now that it's gone.
Asking Johnny questions about how things have changed or like that, it's weird because you started out going after everything already complete in box and being picky about variants. Like you started out like 9 out of 10 on the craziness scale, and like maybe you've bumped up to 9.5 out of 10.
Well, no, I mean, I started buying carts initially, and like I would just consume lots because I figured I could complete them later. But I was always kind of going for that box because Stefan talked about his ideal, like what his childhood looked like. And that's an interesting way to put it. My childhood looked like that too. I didn't have like all of my boxes lying around. But what I did have was experiences walking through stores, seeing things in their boxes, imprinting on those things and being like, these are the things I want, and I'll never be able to own them. So I wanted that wall behind like the plexiglass at KB or at Toys R Us. I wanted that wall. So that's how I got here.
All right. Our next question is, I've never been to a game collecting expo. Tips? I've got no one to go with too. It's daunting by Rue Games 64.
I mean, I think he says that he or she, I'm sorry, I don't know you, Rue. But the
Are
whole
they?
I have correct.
Sure
I have no one to go with. I think if you try hard enough, you can probably find someone to go with. I do find that going with someone is advantageous in a lot of different ways, from being able to like bounce a price off of someone when you're like, hey, should I buy this? You know, just like a gut check to like, am I being impulsive, et cetera, et cetera. Having people, you know, while you're doing one thing, another person can be like elsewhere doing something else. And like if the two of you can kind of communicate, and especially for like larger shows like Portland, it's you know, when Tyler and Johnny and I are all in different places on the floor and we can kind of text each other and stuff like that of what we're finding, that's advantageous. And just, you know, obviously you had mentioned it being daunting. Yes. I mean, like having someone with you is going to make you more comfortable in a strange land. But other than that, I think my big, I would recommend finding, especially if you're like, find a show, like figure out what you want out of a show and kind of do your research and figure, because like different shows are better for different things, right? And so especially if it's going to be like, oh, this is going to be like my one show a year or a couple shows a year, find one that you really want to go to and go to that one. And if it's like, okay, well, I have to kind of save up, you know, maybe, you know, if you don't live obviously near Portland, for instance, and Portland is the one you want to go to and it's going to cost travel and et cetera, et cetera. Then maybe go to fewer other things to then save up to go to that one, right? So kind of do your homework and figure out what kind of show you're looking for. If you want to see more pinball in arcades, or that might be a different show than if you're like into panels and seeing YouTube personalities, or if you are into like the vendor floor, and like so there's different shows definitely cater to different audiences. So do a little bit of research and pick the show that you want to go to the most.
So I'll piggyback off what you just said, and I will say I go to a lot of conventions alone or with like a limited group of people that I'm only like tangentially in contact with and see sometimes. MagFest, for example, vendor floor is garbage. It's nothing. You go to MagFest because it's a giant party. There's music all the time. You basically get drunk with your friends, play Quakeland, things like that. And that makes it easier to meet people. But you got no one to go with. I'm the same way. I'm not going to a convention. I'm not going to meet people. Also, these days, like, I'm 31 and now I go to MagFest. I'm like, oh, damn, these kids. I am like twice their age. What is going on? Portland Retro Gaming Expo, on the other hand, I know we all have a very fun time there. Obviously, we're spending time with friends. Like, I probably spend 50% of the time talking to no one because I am there not only to buy games. I'm there to look for deals and buy games. I'm going through the vendor floor over again. I would have fun at Portland just alone. Like, I'm waiting in lines for Atari autographs. Johnny and Stefan aren't waiting in lines for me for things like that. But if you do, it is more fun to like link up with people and go to a panel together that you're all going to go to. If you're in any online communities or something, just like post a thread or see if like at least someone online, like just that you can meet with, and you don't have to spend the whole show with them, but it might be fun to like, hang out, have lunch, do things like that.
Also, it makes travel cheaper.
True. If you can like link up and share a room, but
isn't that like basically how we started hanging out, Johnny? Didn't I solicit for someone to go to Portland with me?
I don't know if you solicited. Yeah, maybe you did. I can't remember. Yeah. I mean, one of our first things we did was a trip to Portland together.
Yeah.
But before that, it's weird because we talk about it with collecting, but know what your goal is before you go to a show, right? Are you going to see people? Are you going to be heads down on the vendor floor? Do you need a mix of both? Like, really know why you're going, which seems weird because you're like, I love video games. I'm just going to go. But as Stefan was saying, there's like some different types to show. They have like different kind of flows. Look them up, see what's going on. So really identify what it is you're hoping to get out of it. And that way you can maximize getting like when you know what you want to get out of it, you're more likely to pick the right show and get the most out of it. What I also find, because I have been to Portland by myself, my family was there and we were doing like a trip, and I was just like, okay, you guys are going to go over here and do that stuff. I'm going to go to the convention and I don't care. You just run into people. If you're in the community enough, like if you have been around for a little while, you'll start to meet people. You go to conventions, you'll start to meet people too. And then when you go, then it's suddenly you're just like seeing a bunch of old friends. So it gets to be kind of that. Like, there's people who I like a whole lot, I think are wonderful people, but I only see them at shows, and that's great. It's like really fun to go and see them when these things are happening. And you'll find that that's not just in games, that's in a lot of convention communities. Like, people go really hardcore. They're like, oh man, I can't wait to go to this convention because I'm seeing my convention friends. So, and you can build friends by going. Like, most people are there to have a good time. Like, I find convention goers mostly pretty friendly, especially if it's a thing they're passionate about. Like, right now, I don't know what it's going to be like, but, when it was video games, when I first started going, it's a little smaller, a little more niche, so people weren't like, the oddballs weren't going there. It was people who were really into games. So you already have this common thing between you that you share. So it's not hard to strike up a conversation. And then like just general tips, like convention food sucks. Be willing to like take a break in the middle of your day, go out and get some food. Please wash yourself because that's like really weird. Hand sanitizer now more than ever. If you're sick, don't go. And then make sure you eat and drink and then try to get some sleep. Conventions can be very overwhelming. They suck a lot of energy out of you. do your best to be responsible to your body to make sure you get the best out of it. So you're not like, I've seen plenty of friends go and crash and get like sick and can't go on and a bunch of dumb shit. So, just think about what your body needs on a regular basis and imagine that it's going to be under new and vigorous stresses when you go there.
Yeah, especially that the staying hydrated, like that's a huge one because you don't. I think people like, especially people who haven't been to shows a lot, don't like underestimate the amount at which they will be constantly moving the entire day,
and talking and yelling.
Yeah, and like before you know it, like you're like, I haven't had to pee all day. Well, that's because you're expelling water out of your body like crazy. So definitely stay hydrated. That's probably the biggest self-help health thing that I can think of.
Well, I mean, just for like most people, whatever amount of water you're drinking, you probably need to be drinking more. And when you go to a convention, it goes up exponentially. So
you're already not drinking enough water. So,
okay. Let's move on to Tyler's next one.
Feel free to use that advice next year when there's video game conventions again.
Yeah, like also I'm sure they'll like check your mask mandates and what convention policies. The world is going to be weird for a little while. So
ask us again next year and we'll have a whole host of different like COVID related suggestions.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be a serious thing, right? Like when you go to big events, are you going to put on a mask just because? Are they going to make people mask up? Like what are they? I mean, they're not doing it at sporting events. People hate them, but is that like, are some conventions where maybe the insurance is like not really as flexible? Are they going to mandate that kind of stuff? Who knows? You might be in for that kind of stuff in the future. So be sure to check.
Here, Johnny, I'll answer this question for you. We're in America and we're probably like one of the least responsible COVID countries. So once like the majority of the country is vaccinated and we've got through that, there will be no restrictions on anything because America.
I mean, you say that, but insurance and convention halls are a different thing.
All right, we will see.
Like when you're a sport, like if you're baseball and the NBA and football, that's different. You got a lot of money. You got a much bigger phallus to swing around and knock people about. Small little conventions. If you come in, you're like, we're doing the agriculture convention for these tangerines, like because they only like, let's see, we're going to put some restrictions on you because we need to make sure. I'm just saying that kind of stuff is going to happen.
Just let me throw shade at America, Johnny. It's all I want to do.
Speaking of throwing shade.
When will you and Johnny be selling your mass-produced crap, asking for a friend, CWR2? Johnny, when are you selling your mass-produced crap? I don't know why this wasn't asked to Stefan. Stefan, did you sell
I have no idea why.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to answer for Tyler. The answer is never. Tyler's never selling anything.
Anything
ever. That way he doesn't have to. Me, whenever the money walks up to my door. If you've got an offer for my stuff, come get it.
That worked for me. I bought a whole Genesis set.
Didn't we have an episode where it said like, what would it take for you to sell your set or sell like everything? Like me and Stefan were like $2.5 million. So I got a price.
My number was lower. My number was lower than everyone's, but somehow Stefan sold his stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's weird.
Weird.
Yeah.
Do you think? Oh.
Go ahead.
Do you think the death of Nintendo Age has changed the climate of collecting? How and why? So it's interesting because Nintendo Age's death is very recent. The biggest loss of Nintendo Age is not the community. I mean, the community itself has mostly moved on to video game stage. A lot of them have also been like, F this, I'm just vanishing into the ether. The biggest loss for most people is the historical knowledge that was easily findable on Google in the archive, and also the filterable set lists. Nintendo Age lists, I say this a lot, they've been fetishized. They were not 100%. They're not perfect. They were like the starting point. Like a lot of lists on the internet were based on Nintendo Age lists. And now there is no longer a central database where everyone can go and be like, what are the unlicensed Super Nintendo games? Oh, there is only this one. We're looking at like all these apps and all the lists are just terrible.
Now that's not true anymore. Now there's a bunch.
What do you mean?
Like newer unlicensed ones.
Well, I don't know how Nintendo Age categorized homebrew and things like that. But I don't. So also because set collecting is maybe less popular, or people just don't care and they're just using whatever list. I don't think it's had a huge effect on the video game hobby. But maybe it has. I don't know. What do you guys see?
Well, I also think it's very difficult to tell because so many, quote unquote, switches were thrown around the same time.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't the only, it wasn't like Nintendo Age disappeared and then nothing else was changing in the game and in the hobby at the same time. Everything else was changing in the hobby at the same time. So it's difficult for me to pinpoint and say like, oh yes, this is the impact that Nintendo Age, specifically Nintendo Age, had on the hobby, because so much else has transpired in the last 2 years.
So also, go ahead.
Like, we're speaking for a very particular type of collector. Like we're on like forums and like we remember, like we're Nintendo Age members, probably all of us. The average collector, like probably most collectors, like Nintendo Age. Nintendo Age is a bunch of elitist ass. I went on there, said something, someone said something shitty to me. Like, I think Nintendo Age did not have a particularly great reputation in the hobby. Like, I haven't seen a lot of like actual bad things happen from Nintendo Age, but it did not have a great reputation.
I got talked to a bunch of times.
Oh, me too. Yeah, I almost left as soon as I started. Really,
That's actually how I met Stefan, because there was a thread going on and people were just railing him. I was just like, whoa, get off this poor guy. Give him a chance to breathe a second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, he listed his whole story up above what he's going on. The people were like, stupid ass speed collector, get out of here. You don't know anything.
Yeah, speed collector. Remember when that was a term?
I forgot about that. People used to say speed collector.
Yeah.
Dude.
I mean, but they were right, because Stefan sold it all, so.
Yeah, Stefan, he's a fake video game collector. He just wants art.
Yeah.
I've turned into a speed collector now, guys. I'm going to win $5,000 worth of auctions and not know what to do with myself tomorrow.
Yeah, everyone's a speed collector when FOMO is the only thing going on.
Literally, there's no one is not a speed collector in the last year.
Yeah. So there, as Stefan was saying, and we always shorthand this into like WATA, but that's not fair to WATA, because WATA is just a company, and like I'm not here to dump on WATA or anything. I like those guys, a lot of smart guys in there. But what did happen is investing happened right as Nintendo Age was going down, and Go Collect promised like this thing, and like pricing charts and game value now started to like have weird issues, and people were noticing more. So it's
and media coverage and just like
that's definitely, there's a lot to like. Do I think Nintendo Age is a loss to the collecting community in general? If nothing else, as Tyler said, the Google searches, I disagree a little bit about the community. I think that's a loss just because you knew all of the experts were there. Like, even if you got dumped up, you knew you could like sign up and like throw up a question there and probably get it answered. Also, like for me, like I was ingrained on how I operated with Nintendo Age and Sega Age and things. I'm less so with Video Games Age, though I think it's a better platform overall, and I think you can do more cool and neat things in there. But I'm just less familiar with it, so I'm doing it less. Just once Nintendo Age app like went away, my immediate like fill for that space wasn't Video Games Age. It, there was some dead air. I didn't do it for 3 weeks. It no longer became a routine. So now I have to like remember to go to Video Games Age when I'm looking for things. So I think that's where.
So also, I think it's worth mentioning. I know it's popular to hate on people who have started collecting in the past 2 years, or investors, or people speculating on video games. If you go into those groups, it is like 2007 Nintendo Age, man. There are people, like, they're only doing it in the pursuit of money, but man, they're going deep on variants. There are people posting pictures, they're posting lists of like, here's every Pokemon Yellow variant, I'm going to put them in chronological order. Like, people are serious about variants in the Facebook groups right now. So I think that has kind of replaced the exciting search for knowledge that I used to get from Nintendo Age, because that's not as much what Video Game Stage is. Video Game Stage, I feel like I'm getting more of the community aspect from it. I'm having fun with people. I'm trading information with certain groups of people on there. I am getting more that I'm like writing down and taking notes of when I'm looking at the, like, specifically like the WATA Facebook groups, like all the high-end game rooms, things like that. I just thought I would point out what I think has replaced Nintendo Age.
Fair.
Can I be the recipient of the first CQ podcast NFT, says Super Nintendo? NFT guys, am I right? Is it NFT or do I have to say Nifty?
I have no idea.
I don't know. But
okay, let me explain to everyone who is above the age of 22, I think, because
you're not me.
I had no idea what the is going on here. So an NFT is sort of like a cryptocurrency digital trading card, and it is more complicated than that, but that's basically what this question is about. They're selling for like thousands of dollars. There's all sorts of them. You could buy a Logan Paul video clip for $20,000. It's very confusing. Just think of it as a digital trading card. I work in tech support. I would consider myself technically savvy. I spent 5 minutes trying to figure out how to purchase one of these, just as like on a lark, just like I want to see what this thing is. Let me see if I could buy one for like 40 cents. And I couldn't really figure out. You have to turn your money into cryptocurrency, and they have to turn your cryptocurrency into one of these digital trading cards. And then you store your digital trading card somewhere. I couldn't figure out the last part specifically, how I actually own my digital trading card. So I'm sure, like, I was reading articles and they're talking about, like, you put the gas on the fire and I will figure it out. I will get a Collector's Quest NFT set up. I just think it's the dumbest thing, because if it's not like, oh, I open a pack of trading cards, I have, a bunch of Pokemon cardboard. This is the best thing ever. If you can't figure it out in like 1 second, I don't understand how this is a market at all. Anyway.
But it is.
100% want to do it. I think it would be super dumb if we made trading
I think
cards.
that would be
probably
super
not. We're not going to like sell them.
No, we should sell them.
Oh my god. I don't. So it might cost money to create. It must cost money to create them because it's a cryptocurrency thing, and everything in cryptocurrency is money. But like, I don't know if that's 1 cent or if it's going to be like 40 cents a card, in which case it would be stupid.
We'll look into it. And
this question was asked as a joke, but like I was already thinking like, oh man, this NFT thing, this is funny. We should make these.
Yeah,
well, I still learned something. Before this question, I literally had no idea what this was.
Oh,
I was asked twice about sports NFTs and if like who to speculate on rookies and stuff. This was a real question I was asked. So.
Oh, okay. So Steph, I'm not surprised. Like this is such a weird thing. Go look up, what is it? NBA Top Shot. So basically they will take highlight clips from games and sell them as digital trading cards, and the top ones sell for like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
What?
Cryptocurrency is crazy.
It is crazy. I'm not into it. Let's move on.
All right. So we got Stefan's questions. So let's go, man. We're at like 2 hours. Let's do it.
All right, I'm going to skip this one unless anyone cares.
Yeah.
Next one. Which gaming-related pogs should people be invested in 2021?
You skipped the other one, but this is the one you want to talk. Okay.
Read the Game Shark. Who's the hot one? Who's the nerdy one? Who's the funny one? Stefan's the hot one. I'm the nerdy one. Johnny's the funny one. All right, next question.
All right. Gaming-related pogs we should be investing in 2021. I think Johnny and I were talking in the pre-show about this semi-seriously, and we were talking about Nintendo Power Pogs. Those are legitimately
wrong answer.
Sometimes.
Wrong answer.
But also Slammers. Slammers are where it's at.
That's my answer.
That's the rest.
There's less Slammers. The Pogs are a dime a dozen. Get the Slammers. Whatever the best properties are, get the Slammers for it. Pogs. Pogs are bullshit. Get your Slammers now.
Tyler, is there anybody grading Pogs? Can we get graded Pogs? I need to know now.
Can you imagine, Stefan, if you made a graded Pog company, there would be like at least like a dozen people who are like, oh, we got to buy up all the Pogs before they become the next big thing. That is literally all you need. You would get business if you made a graded Pog really company. Held up
Stop talking about it. We're going to have to talk about Pogs that are punched versus unpunched. Like, what do you do with the little hanging tab? Do you like try and
many Pogs really didn't even come. Like, you can't get them in a sheet. They didn't come punched.
Some did though, but even like from the company, they came like that. Some were were maybe laser cut or like rotor cut or something like specific. But some were just printed in sheets. And like, are those the ones you want? Do they got to stay on the sheet? We're making the company. Don't worry, Collector's Quest is going to be there for you on graded Pogs. Right now, I would pick up the Saturn Pogs that were
the right answer.
They were marketed by Coke, so you could get like cherry Coke Pogs that have Saturn on the back, and they come with a special case. That's the stuff I'm talking about. That's a small little collector set, specific case. That's where you want to be. And again, make sure you get your Slammers.
I will say that as far as like Pogs that I like to look at the most, I think they come in sheets of 6. The Mega Man X Nintendo Power Pogs are awesome. Note that there are actually 3 different sheets of them, even though only one came in the issue, in the bonus issue, the Mega Man X bonus issue. So if you want the whole set, you're going to have to buy 3 sets.
All right.
That's all I got.
Let's go.
Cool. Anything you guys like to see in small or new collectors/collections? I'll go. I think the most important thing, even though that we diverge sometimes and you can't really tell that this is a philosophy of ours, is that you should collect what you want, and that's collect what you like, and that's especially true when you're first starting out. I guess unless you're one of these like new investor types, then I guess what you want to collect is things that are the most expensive or most whatever equitable. I don't know. Whatever. I'm not that guy. But yeah, I think when people are first starting out, the thing I like to see is people who are like actually putting their money into what they love. And then, if they want to kind of expand from there, then great. But yeah, start with what you love. I think we've said that a bunch of times.
Yep. I mean, I'm the same way. I don't want to say that I'm judging people's collections, but if I look at someone who's clearly like a younger guy or a newer collector and their collection is like, here's all the sports games I found at Goodwill and just like a random stack of loose GameCube games just because that's what I found, that's not much to look at for me. But if it's someone who like, you can collect Xbox 360, a console I care nothing about. But if I see you've got like Gears of War, Halo, whatever like the good stuff is for Xbox 360, and it's not just like, okay, here's a stack of 75 sports games, and then here's like the stack of 7 games that I actually care about. I think it's cooler when someone is clearly collecting what they actually like.
Yeah, I like to see weird collections. Like I like to see when people go really hard at something, or like they just have a bunch of one thing. I like that, but again, like I just like to see people who are, I like to see people who are enjoying it and their pictures kind of reflect that. When I'm looking on Instagram, those are the pictures I like the best.
Yeah, so there's this really poor collector I know who all he can afford is copies of Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt, and even though it's the most common game ever, in his poverty he's been able to acquire like 600 of them. And you know what? That deserves some recognition.
See, Chris, you're throwing shade at me all day, and look at the one that's throwing it back at you. It's not even me. It's not even me, bro.
I mean, you threw a little earlier. I don't know. I don't have no problem with Chris. Me and Chris are good, so I'm just saying.
That's so yeah, that question was from Neon Bros, and then the previous Pogs question was from Quill. I apologize. Next, I actually really like this question a lot. Has anything ever almost taken you out of collecting? What and why? From Guy Climbs Tree. I'll go. We talked about it earlier. I almost exited collecting as soon as I entered it with that Nintendo Age thread. I got Nintendo Age was like the first place that I really engaged. I was just like, because I had collected other things before, and I'm like, oh, I bet there's a forum for game collecting, because I was a Ninja Turtles collector for a long time. So the Technodrome is where it's at if you want to be on a Ninja Turtles forum, or at least it was. And so I was like, there's got to be a Technodrome for video games, and sure enough, there's Nintendo Age. And so, but my introduction on that site was not met kindly by a great number of people, and people like Johnny and actually Bronte, Dan Maresca were a few people that actually came to my aid, and honestly, Johnny was probably the biggest voice that like encouraged me to stick it out. So yeah, that I almost left at the same moment that I got in via the charming folks at Nintendo Age.
Yes.
I guess I'll answer. I'll say, I mean, definitely pinball. And I can't even remember when I got into pinball. It was probably like 2012 or 2013, because AC/DC and Metallica were like the really new hotness. It's not that I stopped collecting because I started collecting pinball machines. Like I've always collected. I had a collection of, like rocks as a kid, and then magic cards and comic books and video games. Like I'm always collecting something. But pinball almost like seriously took me out of video games, because I had a pretty sizable collection up to that point, and then like I stopped bar none, because like with pinball, there's 1,000 games. I got to learn the rules to all these games. I got to increase my skills. I got to go compete. I got to buy machines. I got to maintain machines. Like once you're in pinball, that's like kind of all you can do if you're going to be a serious pinballer. So I just didn't have time for games anymore.
You weren't just collecting, right? You are for people who don't know, Tyler's a competitive pinball player.
Like not anymore. So I haven't been playing competitively, but I was like very seriously playing pinball, like traveling, across states to play in competitions, and competing about, numerous times in the North Carolina State Championships. Bars. What?
I said, like compared to someone who just like walks into a bar or an arcade and plays some pinball.
Yeah, I'm playing seriously. But yeah, I don't even know what got me out of that. Something brought me back to games like 2016. What was it? Anyway, something brought me back to games. I decided like it was like I needed a copy of Banjo-Tooie, something like super dumb brought me back into games, and now like here I am like crazier than ever about games. So I'll always be collecting something. I'm guessing video games, but who knows? It could happen again.
Nice.
As far as me, nothing really ever took me out of it. I mean, there are highs and lows, and there are times like you can't find anything or everything feels too expensive. And, it's just, I think there's an ebb and flow where you get some burnout sometimes. And, how do you find ways to overcome that feeling? If you want to keep doing it, I think it's really good to, do some self-evaluation and just look and say, okay, maybe this isn't for me. I think those are fine choices. A lot of people like get shamed if they leave or, feel like, oh my God. And then some of my friends I won't have this group. So if that's like your thing, just remember the group is more, the friendship is more important than the games. If you're ever feeling that way, but I think it's natural just to say that these peaks and valleys will arise in how interested you are in collecting. So, for me, that's what I struggle with. And I've been doing it for a long time. So, it comes and goes, and I'm never afraid to turn my interest away. So what brings me back or what keeps me going is, moving on to something else for a little while and investing in that, not like money, even though that's required, but like my mental energy, because I spend a lot of mental energy on collecting as well as time. So when I can turn it to something else, and then something will just naturally grab me, and then suddenly I'm deep in it. Like I had a pretty big lull going on for a while, and then I don't remember. Tyler and I were talking about this probably 2 months ago, and I'm like, man, I need something to get me restarted about games. What got me restarted in like feeling like, oh man, I got to buy some stuff, because Tyler and I both went through a thing where we hadn't bought much, and we were talking about it, and then like just talking to Tyler and talking about cool stuff got me like pumped to be like, oh yeah, there are things I want to go look for and search for and get. Like, yeah, let's go do this. Yeah. And then I was excited for it again.
I do 99% of when I do buy games, I do 99% of that buying either while I'm sitting on this podcast with the two of you or directly after this podcast.
Those are my favorite podcasts, where we just talk about a bunch of stuff and then it's like,
and then just go buy it.
Man, I don't have a copy of Medieval on PS1. I got to go get that.
Yep.
That is cool. I should own that. Let's do it.
Let's do it right now. Please wait.
Do it live.
That's right. This is a quick one just for me. Are you still getting Buffy autographs just for the education of the room here? My late wife, that was her collecting thing. She had a Buffy poster that she was trying to get essentially every cast member ever to sign it. And that's something that I have taken on as a quest for myself and my daughter to continue. Yes, that is something that I'm still doing, but COVID obviously has put a kink in things. So people are less like, there's less opportunities to actually go to people. And then there's also folks that previously said I could mail them a poster are now less comfortable receiving mail from me. So after this all goes away, or it gets better, or it stabilizes, then yes, I will continue to fill out that poster. I have about 20 actors left for that. Johnny, do you want to field this next one? Is that something that you want to do?
No, I don't. I can't. I'm not allowed.
Okay.
Well, okay, fine. This is from RuGame64. They really want to know what happened with my old co-host Kat.
Johnny, we weren't supposed to speak of that.
I know. I signed an affidavit. It was not supposed to be spoken of. I know I'm breaking an NDA, but
rest in peace.
Okay. So, well, what did you say? What was that there, Tyler? Wow.
I don't know. What?
Okay,
we're not telling the real story? I'm sorry.
I'm going to tell the real story. So, it was a transcontinental love affair that broke up 2 families and ended 2 podcasts. Really, that's what happened. If you don't know her husband, also named John, very awkward. He was on the Narc podcast. That shut that down. Sorry, CWR2.
That's why he's being so shitty.
Yeah. So he lost that gig because of me. It became a big, nothing happened with Kat. None of this is real. Like people are like, what happened? Like she literally just got too busy and like her, she's a wedding dress designer and her husband does like a lot of stuff with cars and they're like pretty successful young people. And they were just collecting less because they had different priorities at the time. And, as she was kind of falling out of it, I was like, okay, well, how do I keep it going? There was no like big moment where Kat and I are like, this is it. You're not supporting the podcast. Like something like that. It's like, oh yeah, I understand. You're doing your own thing. And so then I started to look for other things. And frankly, the podcast is better now than it was. Not just because Tyler's editing and all that, but because over the time we've groomed kind of our focus. It's changed a little bit. Like we went in with some ideas, but now there's a better sense of opinions. There's a larger group talk. I like what we've become. And that was a lot of through the growth of what Kat and I went through. And I knew when I was looking for new co-hosts, what kind of I wanted, what I didn't. Like where I was trying to get to, I'd already come to the conclusion with Kat that I wanted one more host. I wanted the talking to be a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more all over each other. Like, even though that's a pain for editing, just a greater variety, and people with different experiences, which I know we're like 3 white dudes and it's all kind of homogenized and the type of collectors we are. But, on the collecting spectrum, we were all at different places when this started, which, is still what I'm going for. But yeah, nothing happened between Kat and I still like Kat very much. If she ever wants to jump on the Discord, I will give her a host role and she can hang out with us. And
that'd be fun.
I really wanted to do a Christmas episode with her and I dropped the ball on that. I'd never got to reach out. It got too busy and crazy, but like, that's really what I would like to do. If I can get her, even with shitty audio, whatever it takes. Nothing. Kat was great. I like Kat as a person very much. Sorry, there's not like some intrigue there or like it's a boring story. Nothing happened. It's like the story of like me and all of my ex-girlfriends. Like we didn't have a bad breakup. No one cheated. It wasn't like really bad. We just made some different decisions. No one's feelings are hurt. We're still good. Like, yeah, very boring. I don't have that kind of drama. I had plenty of other drama in my life. I don't really do the dramatic exits anymore. Sorry.
All right. Next up, will Johnny and Tyler ever give us a narrated game room / collection tour from Rue Game 64?
Tyler.
I did like a joke one on Instagram a while back because you only could do it in like 60 seconds on Instagram. I think game room tours are usually just super boring. Because in a whole, like the people who I follow, like I follow a lot of set collectors, a lot of people just like collecting from all eras of gaming. So a lot of our stuff is just mass-produced garbage, as Stefan would say. So you look at like my wall of Xbox stuff, it's like, okay, here's Outrun 2006. That's a rare game. Okay, here's Stubbs the Zombie. People really like this. Like, I hate that stuff. I'm thinking of one, like the only one I could think of that I watched recently was like Kelsey Lewin, and it must have been because like Stefan posted it on Facebook. And it's like an hour long or so, like 45 minutes. And I just scrub through it. And then all of a sudden I see like some weird, like vintage Nintendo stuff, like a whole like shelf full of like 70s Nintendo stuff. And then like I stop and I'm like, okay, let me look at this. What's this cool shit that they have?
Yeah.
But I didn't watch the rest of the video. So what I would rather do is go to Kelsey's Instagram, where I imagine she would post individual pictures of the actually cool stuff. And then I'm not going to, look at the rest of her shelves of stuff. No offense to Kelsey. I'm like, sure, her collection's amazing. She's like all over the video game collecting, news article world, whatever it is.
She collects really, like, she's very, her stuff is very focused and honestly, and a lot of it's very niche, which is why I probably post her stuff. But like she has like one of the most complete Wonder Swan collections and that kind of stuff.
Sure,
and
yeah.
she does have a lot of the like Gunpei. She's very obsessed with Gunpei Yokoi. And so like all of the earlier
that's probably she was probably like showing off Gunpei Yokoi toys.
Yeah, that's exactly what she was doing.
Okay. And like even like the Wonder Spawn stuff, like I don't know anything about that, so that would have been interesting for me to watch. It's just like, okay, like terrible example. Look up Game Room Collection Tour on YouTube and click like the 12th result. It'll probably be full of the boring stuff I'm talking about.
Yep.
I could do one. It would be very short. It'd be like, here's the Xbox set. We're done with that. None of that matters. Let's go find something that matters.
Now, if you did a Game Room Tour as the Retro Gem Miner, that would be compelling.
No, it is so hard to be funny, Stefan. I'm not the funny one. Johnny's the funny one.
No one thinks
I'm the nerdy one. No, so actually, you know, I do like Game Room Tours a little bit because I love seeing how people have stuff laid out, which is usually a lot easier to tell in a video than still pictures. I do love that, but my Game Room Tour would literally be like 5 minutes if I did it. Anyway, Johnny, show us your Game Room.
I guess I could. My Game Room is boring. Like Stefan's Game Room is like interesting and exciting and like dynamic. It's got stuff going on. My shit's boring. I'm not mad about that. That's how I like it. It's neatly laid out. It's pretty like it's not all boring. It's not completely clean and devoid of any personality, but I like to be able to find certain things, and like half my stuff is in the garage, so that's not, or in the shame room, so that's not like super interesting. But my shelf layouts in here are pretty stagnant, and then like the rest of my house, where other things are, you would have to ask Stefan. My wife and I are both collectors, so like every room has something going on in it. So like even for my son's, for his room when he was being born and we're making the nursery, right? Like just start theming it. And I put like, I do what I do. I'm like, oh, I found a bunch of like pre-movie Harry Potter stuff to throw in there because I thought that would be cool, and like some like cool Harry Potter stuff. So like it would be a house tour, but like because focusing on the game stuff, like Tyler said, just isn't very interesting. And even then, the rest of my house tour wouldn't be that interesting either because it like you just see the kind of things I'm nerdy about beyond video games. And maybe people are interested in that. I don't know. I always go, man, that's boring. Does anyone really want to watch that? And please definitely don't make it an hour long. I don't want to watch your hour-long Game Room tour, especially like when you really struggle to get through it.
Or like they're holding a handheld camera and it's like shaking while they're trying to pull out the GameCube game, and it's like, oh, you're gonna tell me a Phantasy Star Online story? No.
Yes, exactly that moment. Like I don't want to do that. What I would rather do is just walk out and, like Tyler said, just show my layout. Like, okay, here's the Super Nintendo stuff. Here's the PS1 stuff. Here's Nintendo. This is why I laid it out this way. Okay, come over here. This is the shame room. This is where I hide all of my Game Boy games because I don't want them in the garage. And then here's the garage. Oh my God, what a mess. Don't look at it too hard. That's a bunch of games. The end. Like that's what it would be like. It's like, oh, you want to see all of our Disney statues? You want to see some Harry Potter stuff? You want to see some Legos? Let me show you this stuff. Like that's, but I wouldn't want to be like taking out individual pieces. And I think that's what people want to do. I would rather do short, like I'd rather do that video and then do a bunch of snippet videos of like, okay, if you saw the Game Room tour, this is like this one area. Let me show you this cool thing and have it set up. But people trying to do it all in one thing, too long. And like Tyler said, the shaky cam or bad story, it's not like scripted enough. It just, no thanks. So yes, I could do one. If there's really any interest for that, sure. I mean, I used to, on like Sega Age, we used to walk out. It was when smartphones were newer, right? And like video chat were a thing. Like we used to just like walk through our game rooms with each other and be like, here, check this out. Like, and that was kind of fun. But to like set it up for YouTube so it like looks nice and like also like, oh, is it too dark, and like getting the production quality good enough that someone would want to watch it. It's just like it's hard.
Yeah, I definitely do find more enjoyment when I'm just like plunked down in someone else's game room and I can just like stroll through it. That's a better experience for me than just like watching a video. That's what I love about you, like walking into your house, Johnny. I'll just like wander around and pull shit off shelves.
All right, and I'm not picky about it. So,
Here's a softball. And let's just end on this because we already covered. There's another Pogs question, but we already covered Pogs.
I was prepared for that. The best Pogs, by the way, are Street Race. The Holy Grail Pogs, Street Racer on SNES. I asked for pictures. No one ever sent me pictures of them. No one has Street Racer Pogs for SNES. This is a Nintendo collectible that no one has, guys. Go get the Street Racer Pogs. All right.
Thank you for the question, Bo's Game Room. All right. Here's a softball to end things off, guys, from Tom Nook. Your favorite Genesis games. Let's say top 3. Johnny?
Shining Force 2, and Crusader of Senti.
Good. Mine are a little bit more eclectic in that it's just like based
off. Oh, mine
of,
aren't eclectic?
Just that it's based off of, well, yours are also based off of nostalgia. And they're
great.
So, whoa. I don't know that I could put them in I didn't know that I could put them in an order, but my top 3 are Growl, Whip Rush, and Toe Jam and Earl.
Whip Rush, man, that is not in a lot of top 3s, I imagine.
It is not in a lot of top 3s, but it's a pretty competent shooter. But it's a side-scrolling shooter that my grandfather bought me for my 12th birthday. And I like it a lot. He also bought me that Growl. And that Growl story is I sold it. I sold it at a yard sale. And it came back to me like 20 some odd years later via Instagram. That's
now part of your narrative, right? So that's part of your gaming narrative is that story, which I like.
And it's so unfortunate that you have to sell it again because it's mass produced.
No, I know. Toe Jam and Earl is just one that I played with my sister a lot. But yeah, go ahead, Tyler.
I was a kid who had a Genesis and regretted it, so there's not a lot of 10 out of 10 stuff on Genesis for me. My top games are Sonic 3 and Knuckles and Sonic 2, which are not very interesting. I'll pick games that aren't Sonic games. I will say Shining Force, X-Men 2 Clone Wars, Shining in the Darkness is good too.
Ooh, it is good. Yeah.
And what I was playing last year, did I talk about Virtua Racing on the podcast? Was I gloating about Virtua Racing?
Sounds familiar.
Okay. I mean, maybe I actually did, but Virtua Racing, really good arcade game that could not possibly run on the Sega Genesis, but the Sega Genesis version of Virtua Racing is just so good for what it is with real 3D, all the different camera angles, AI racers. Virtua Racing on Genesis is really good.
And that's not there's a 32X version, yeah?
Yeah, I'm talking about just the regular Genesis version. I've never even played it on 32X because who plays 32X games?
That's fair.
Yeah, so another shout out, Quackshot is a game I really like. If you guys haven't played Quackshot, Gunstar Heroes is a fun game if you like that.
I thought I liked Gargoyles until I played it recently, and I don't like that game.
That's a disappointing feeling.
Yeah.
There's also a game called Undead Line that didn't come out here that I got a repro of because I wanted to play it back in the day. But yeah, Undead Line is a really good one too. I enjoy. Genesis has some weird ones that don't get talked about enough. It's got an interesting library. Rystar is pretty good that people don't talk about. There's some really good games, and just doesn't get the love it should.
Because it doesn't say Nintendo, because Sega's garbage, Johnny. All right.
Man. There's a bunch of good games that never came here too, so that's unfortunate. Anyways, that's it. That's all I got.
All right, Johnny. That's my last question, so I'll turn it back over to you.
I don't have any questions.
No, I know. But for moving on.
Yes.
We're gonna
do it. If you've bought anything or if you're playing anything, we did the last episode kind of close to this one, so I haven't bought too much new stuff. Tyler, you bought or played anything?
I've been playing Stardew Valley with Ada. We're probably going to play it after the podcast, even though it's 3 a.m.
Nice.
Yeah, it's all right. It's fun. I haven't got to the level where it feels like another job yet, and I know this is a game that is intending to get me to that level, and we have not reached that yet. So I'm going to give it more time and see what happens. Very funnily, 1 or 2 episodes ago, I played the Game Boy Kid Icarus, and then I forgot about it when you asked me what I'm playing, which is just perfect because I'd make fun of that game because no one talks about it. Well, I played through the whole thing, and it's the world's okayest game, and there's not a lot to talk about. It's a simple little Kid Icarus game. It's fine. It's fun. Anyway, What'd I buy, Johnny? So, Johnny, last episode, which I just edited today, so I remember this, I hyped up that I bought something exciting. It was two incomplete versions of a $100 game that I'm going to combine into one Ultra game, and I can't remember what it was. Oh, no, okay.
What?
I figured it out. I haven't opened my mail yet. I'm going through my eBay search history. I got 2 copies of what is one of the hardest manuals on Sega Genesis to find, Johnny?
Doom Troopers.
It's Kawasaki Superbike Challenge.
It is a pain in the ass to find that manual.
There's one complete in-box copy on eBay, and it's $200. So I bought 2 incomplete copies for about $100, which is something I could live with.
My God, it's got that expensive?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, now I want to get up and check and see if mine has the manual. I know it doesn't.
So not just the manual, it comes with a like a contest insert. Yes, and so like some copies have the contest insert, some have the manual, and like the one that has both is $200.
Did you buy the one that was a lot that was like without the cart and it was like all flattened and weird?
No.
There was like that lot was on there for a while. It was like 2 different of the boxes flattened out and like cut up, and then like it had the instruction.
Oh, no.
Almost bought that just to get the instruction.
But yeah, so this like I overpaid for this. I don't really know. I just know I think it's the last Genesis manual. Like I didn't have any copy of. Like there's a bunch I still need to upgrade. There's a lot of inserts I still need to get, but this was just like I got to get this, and it's really expensive, so I just did it. I'm excited about it. Not really. It feels it's not like exciting. It's more like a thank God that's out of the way kind of thing. Because collecting is a compulsion, and we have to do it, Johnny. We have to.
It is crazy that this game came like $200 for a complete one. I guess it's like sitting at really like $100, but yeah, that manual is a pain in the dick to find. All right, Stefan, what about you? Did you buy anything?
Yeah, actually, I did. Some smattering of weird stuff that I don't buy a ton of. Like I bought 2 very expensive books. One I can't talk about because it's my girlfriend's birthday present. But I also bought I've always wanted the assigned Jurassic Park is my favorite book. And there was a limited first edition that the Franklin Library did. That it's a beautiful gold leaf leather bound version of Jurassic Park that is also signed by Michael Crichton, which is something that I hadn't had. And this is actually like a published signed edition, so I knew it was legit, which is what I wanted. So I splurged and I bought a signed first edition, the true first edition of Jurassic Park.
Neat.
So that was cool. What was that, Tyler?
I said neat.
It is neat. And then just today, actually, I ended up tracking down. And this is something that I had actually a deal I'd been working on for about a year. You probably guys remember the last time I bought some envelope art. It was a set of envelope art from an issue of Nintendo Power, which is crazy hard to find because Nintendo didn't return envelope art and it's a nightmare. So I bought some from a guy. He had still held on to it, or rather he had a couple more sets of a couple more issues, but I wasn't able to wrangle them from him, except that in this, I kind of vaguely mentioned it earlier that the last couple of weeks I've been selling off retail sets, and so I have a significant amount of capital right this second. And so I reapproached him and I said, hey, I can offer you a little bit more. Is this something that you would be interested in doing? And he said yes. So I got 37 new pieces of envelope art today, which I'm very, very excited about. 20 of them are published and 2 sets of 10 from different issues. I think it's issue 90 and 91. And then 17 were mailed in, but not published. So that'll be a fun thing to get through. I'm really excited about that. I also, yesterday, I ended up finding a printing proof of the Dragon Warrior 2 map, which I thought was kind of cool. So I picked that up from a friend, and I've got a couple other things in the works right now, but they're so far out as far as like being able to actually nail down the deal that I'll save those for when I get a little bit closer.
Is that it? Just, like dozens of pieces of original art and what was Dragon Warrior 2 printing proof? Whatever. Okay. No, these envelopes are f***ing cool. I know, like, the cool stuff is Dragon Warrior and all.
No, I honestly think
like,
that this is. I
Stefan really likes the envelopes.
I do love the envelopes.
These are awesome. I absolutely love these. And do you know what makes them doubly cool, Stefan? They're called covers because in the stamp collecting world, the entire piece of postage is called a cover. I'm totally joking, but these are stamp collectibles now. And they're amazing. There's like a lot of people drawing Chrono Trigger, a lot of Marios. It's like mashups that Nintendo would never do, but you get to see them because it's just some 12-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I hope you paid a lot of money for these, Stefan.
I did.
Okay.
But at the same time, like that also makes me terrified that someone will see their piece and want it back. And then there'll be a very awkward conversation around how much I paid for it and how much they would have to pay me to get it back. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, just tell them no. Tell them no, and then like lick their salty tears.
Yeah.
No, I don't actually recommend that. Tyler, Stefan.
Hey.
Oh, wait. There's one more thing.
Oh.
Sorry, one more thing.
Oh.
Only because actually a strange number of our listeners have actually reached out and wanted an update as to whether or not I got my Valentine's Day mount in World of Warcraft.
Oh.
I did not.
Oh.
So that is another. I think this is like year 12 now that I have struck out on this. So better luck next year, Stefan, for the big love rocket is what it's called.
I have faith.
Ouch.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
The grind makes it more satisfying. It's the journey, not the destination.
You know what? After 12 years, I just kind of want it to be.
No, it's the journey.
All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't have much to say. I haven't bought much. We talked about it last time. I don't remember what the last thing I said I bought. I posted pictures of Pure Solar today, but I did not just buy those today. That's old. Game wise, let's see. Ooh, man, those haven't come, so I don't want to talk about them. Too exciting. Oh, you know what did come? I bought a Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone import from Japan because it has the card with it, which is, so the Game Boy Advance version came with a Harry Potter TCG card. So that was the GBA version. The PC version came with this card. But the PlayStation 1 version didn't come with this card unless you bought it in Japan. Then it came with a Japanese version of that card. So I thought that was neat. So I bought that. That's what arrived. Not super exciting, though.
I got a bunch of collecting podcasts if you want to listen to them.
Nope. I did get a bunch of I got a bunch of manuals from Daddy Mulk, so thank you very much. Taking care of some of my holes. And
taking care of your
holes. Man, that is just the worst sounding thing. I'm taking care of some of my
over
holes.
The last solid minute has been very good.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't buy it. Like, there are things I bought. So now that's the video game stuff. Did I tell you in the last podcast about the stupid Lord of the Rings cards, specifically Aragorn's Quest? Tyler, do you remember this?
I wasn't here for that, so let's talk about it.
I know. Okay. Well, anyways, Aragorn's Quest, like Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit came with a card. Lord of the Rings came with a card. I think I did go over this. Aragorn's Quest did not come with a card, except in Nintendo Power magazine and probably other magazines, where it came with like the special VR card or something that was in a couple of specific issues. And I think I talked about them. I think it's like 240 or something. I don't remember. Anyways, I got these stupid cards. And then I bought a bunch of dumb stuff. Like I bought some Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secret Valentine's Day cards, because why not? They were $2. So I bought those. I bought some Harry Potter TCG cards. Very interesting. Oh, I bought a Harry Potter book for my wife, which was, this is Tyler's favorite thing I bought. So there was a big literacy thing going on with Harry Potter and Coca-Cola. There was like a combined thing. So Coke was like a sponsor, or Harry Potter or sponsor Coke. I don't know exactly who was with who, or if it was, all good and equal. But they had all these campaigns running together, and one of them is for teachers, like here's how you talk about Harry Potter. And it's like Coke sent out like a DVD and like a thing that said magical experiences for like teachers to watch, and then a copy of the book for them then to read to the classroom, and gave them like talking points. So I thought that was pretty funny. I bought that for my wife. Very exciting, right? Woo.
Pretty great. Woo.
Yeah.
What platform was that? A Nintendo game? Oh.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Look, Stefan can talk about books and you're not bored, but I talk about a book. You're a dick.
It wasn't.
What is wrong with you?
Stefan talked about Jurassic Park.
What is wrong with you?
Oh my God. I'm just a mean one. I'm the
Maybe
mean one.
Maybe you do need your own podcast, Tyler.
God. Yeah. So, yeah, not a lot in the game area has happened yet, but I got a couple things maybe coming that I know at least Tyler's going to be really annoyed that I bought. So I'm happy. I'll be happy to talk about those.
Is that our collecting goals now? Just like trying to figure out what would annoy each other the most. Yeah.
Apparently, it's Harry Potter books. This has been very bad for Tyler. All right. Do we have anything else we need to say?
Nope.
All right. Then, Stefan, tell people where to find you.
You can find me mostly on Twitter at Art of NP. You can also just search the internets for Art of Nintendo Power, and you will find me. And also on the YouTubes at Art of Nintendo Power as well. I just actually posted my panel from UplinkCon 2021. It was me and Tony from Hard for Games, and we were talking about the Art of Nintendo Power. So if you want to hear me talk about that topic for a good almost 2 hours, I just uploaded that. So go watch that. Yeah, that's me.
You'll have to make it through a YouTube-faced thumbnail to watch that. Though.
Oh God!
Unfortunately,
hey, I don't have the YouTube face.
You have a pretty YouTube face. You have like the inquisitive, like, what am I going to talk about face?
And then this guy back here. Yeah, no.
You like how I made him a little bit smaller so that
it hurts me. You're good at it though. Good job, Stefan. I like the outline around everyone. 10 out of 10. 10 million views.
Thank you.
I'm Default Gen, Default GEN. Easiest place to find me is Video Game Sage, or send me a message on the Instagram or YouTube.
Likewise.
I don't know.
Yeah, likewise. You can find me on Instagram, Johnny_Iucci, IUCCI. You can also find me on our Discord if you are a patron, and Video Game Sage very, very infrequently, but I do pop up there from time to time to answer questions after not answering them for 2 months. Good job, me. Yeah. I guess I have a YouTube channel that occasionally I post a video to. I've been doing, there's one. I'm trying to do more of a little series. Maybe the guys will join me in this, where I call it a video side quest, where when we're talking about something very topic driven, like this came with playing cards, or these were pack-ins, I try to show one that we showed on the show, and then like an additional one that I would have talked about if our scope had been a little different. So check those out. They'll be showing up on my YouTube. And I think it's just, if you just Google my name, Johnny Iucci, it comes up. But I think I'm officially on YouTube, Mr. Johnny Iucci. So,
Mr. Johnny Iucci.
Oh, I forgot. Did I mention that the Castlevania games came? That's probably the coolest thing I bought.
Oh, so the Vampire Killer or Kiss?
Yeah, well,
what was it?
This one's New Generations for the Mega Drive Genesis, Europe version. Mm-hmm. So it's not Vampire Killer. So that came, and that was very exciting.
Pretty cool.
Pretty good. I got some more coming. We'll talk about them when they arrive. Pretty stoked. So, all right, that's it. Okay, everyone, thanks for listening, and thanks to you for submitting your questions. We really appreciate everyone who participates in the show and gives us your fun and your interesting questions. So thanks a lot for that. And that's it for the show this time. Bye.
Thank you guys for listening. I think I'm going to start doing errata at the end of the show rather than kind of wherever I put it. So errata for the last episode, Gray Majora's Mask is not just a color variant, as a couple people pointed out to me. It's actually It has a different ROM with a level select and beta content, which is why it's worth thousands of dollars. And honestly, after looking at it, it makes total sense why it's worth thousands of dollars and it's this cool Zelda thing. So much cooler than like sticker variants and other weird stuff like that. Also, you may have noticed some things I said in this episode were basically lifted directly out of this episode and put in my latest YouTube video. That's just because this episode inspired me to make that latest YouTube video. Otherwise, thank you to all the patrons who support the show. Richard, patron number 1, Bowden, The Willennium, Will Joe, Sophisticated Investor, Cartmageddon, Chris, SNK, Too Many NES Accessories, Mrozek, Unpunched Hang Tab, Dustin Beagle, The Actual Shinobi, Jasonic the Kid, Funkoland Employee, Platform Agnostic, The Famicom Box, Retro Game Enthusiast, 50 Hertz is Good Enough for Me, Andre, Wada 9.8 A++ Benji, The Actually Rare Bird Dog Gaming, Mint Condition Brian J. Mora, The Other Guy, Chris, Fat Cat Collector, Chris Jackson, The Last Game You Need for the Set, Corey O'Brien, Jeremy Jarvis, here for the Pog Talk, Video Game Art Collector because games are art, Justin Cicino, Lance, Lord Hardstyle Z, read the Game Shark, The Promoter, Retro RPG Podcast, Tex, who collects for Jaguar, previously unknown variant Tim Walker, Can't Put Limits on Collecting, VG Collectaholic, Canadian Variant Alert, Chris Glidden, Bennett 5-Screw Bernardoni, still finding deals in 2021, Colton Murphy, the other guy who collects Korean releases, Peaceful Games, high-end collector Andrew Brim, Andrew actually collecting N-Gage O, Daniel McArdle, who thought this was the Retronauts Patreon, Joe actually plays his games Champity, Michael posted in the Discord right now, Chiaramonte, Brandon Rogers, whose favorite episode is the wrestling episode, Derek Lower, who made me edit this show, Jim Jacobs, world record holder of Best Collection, the Gamer Collective, who shall not be nicknamed Burger, the Gamer Collective, still living in the year of Luigi, Tom, Obscure Variant Chaser Chase, the Philatelist Dork Overlord, and Sean, the Video Game Illuminati LaCroix. Thank you guys so much. And if you hate your nickname, just let me know.